Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. I'm your host, David Turner. Here with me is Matt Murray.
Hello.
Here with me is James Farley.
Hello.
Here with me is Sean Bell.
Hello.
We're all here. Look at that. All four of us. James, last week, what's going on?
See, last week, right, I listened back to the show, and I don't think it was one of the best, to be honest.
We'll get to your feedback.
It's not about that, James. It's more like, where did the random holiday come from?
Well,
yeah,
okay,
I mean,
that's
exactly.
That is part of my fucking feedback, because I'm a bit annoyed about this. This was the first point that I made when I was making notes. So you all did.
hold on to that. We're not onto your feedback yet. We'll get to your feedback because there's something I wanted to talk to you about. James was on holiday last week on his own with his two children, right? And that scares the living shit out of me, the idea of taking two kids away on holiday on my Todd, but there you go. Can you please explain why you were texting me in a panic? I know before we started recording you were saying I didn't want to talk about it, but it was just super awkward, and it was a very awkward situation, and I didn't enjoy it very much. It was...
So what was?
Matt, do you remember... Well, Matt, do you remember that time when we were out, we went to that pub, and then you got scared because those girls talked to you, and you went to the pub, you went to the toilet,
Yes.
and then you sent us text messages to say that we had to leave because you were scared. I had a very similar situation, and it was worse because I was stuck in a hotel for the whole time, and it was awful.
Here we go.
Because see, the thing is most people assumed that I was a single dad, like I was there just as a single dad looking after the kids and everything. And there were some single mums there as well, and one of them was kind of interested, and it was horrible. Even though I explained,
amazing,
interested.
I explained my situation, but it didn't make any difference, and it was horrible. It was like,
did she come up?
I was terrified.
Right, there's two things I take note of in this, right? The first being, how could that ever be horrible?
Matt, David, it was horrible. How could that ever be? Because it's really awkward. It's just really, really awkward.
The idea that there's a female out there that likes you, that she was interested, that's brilliant. I mean, I've never
not when
had
you're
that,
married.
Really.
Exactly.
Basically a threat on your...
No, hold on. No, it ain't. You've got self-control. I mean, you don't...
but if
just
he's
not an issue
explained
of
the situation
self-control.
he's explained the situation and she's carried on, that is like...
It's just awkward. It's just really awkward and uncomfortable. That's what I hated about it. And it was like...
I like it.
It was horrible, David. And it was like, it's the worst bit. And because the thing is she'd been talking to me and stuff, and then she was talking to my kids as well, which made me feel really uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, that is a bit weird.
And then later on in the week, she bought me drinks, and it was just, I was like, please don't do that. And then I just spent the entire week just avoiding it.
Right, okay, I do not believe that you said don't do that.
I did. I didn't say don't do that. I said thanks.
A double.
I was like, thanks.
I said thanks and drank it, and then knocked it over.
I did do that.
Please.
But then, like I said, because I sent you that message, and I said I'm leaving because I think she's bought me another one, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it.
But this is it, right? I said to you, I text you back. I said you should enjoy this because this is coming from I openly admit it, right? I've fucked around in the past saying bullshit, but I'm an odd-looking man. I've got bug eyes. My nose is slightly too big. I've got this sort of ball bag hanging under my chin. I don't get a lot of attention from the ladies. If there was a woman in a pub that wanted to buy me a drink, I'd be flattered. It didn't mean that I would do anything. I'm not that sort of person, but I mean, I would be flattered. There's not a piece of you that thinks, I still got it.
No, I was not flat. I was just scared. And I just
oh mate,
I spent the whole time just avoiding, and it was really scary. I didn't like it.
Have you ever had a situation like this, Sean?
I'm trying to think. No, I don't think so, but I don't think I would appreciate it.
Would you be horrified, or would there be part of you that goes, that's cool?
I'm pretty sure I'd be horrified, because it's like, if you've explained the situation to them and they carry on flirting with you, that's someone saying, I'm willing to fuck up your entire life.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Sean, you're acting like you've got no say in this. You just go, no, thank you.
But it's but their intention is, that doesn't change their intention. I'm just obviously I've always got agency.
I guess it's more awkward because James is stuck in a hotel for a week. It's not like,
exactly, you can't
at
escape.
a bar when I could walk out.
Oh mate, you guys are way too fly. If I had that, I'd be like, yeah, come on, something likes me. That's it.
Your
I'd be
wife
over the
does,
moon.
Dave.
Well, that's questionable, Sean. That is questionable. Let's get to James's feedback then. Now, I know a lot of you have tuned in this week to hear Matt versus James over Detroit, and we will get to that. I was thinking maybe it's not a great way to start the show. We had a lot of complaints about how negative the start of the show was a few weeks back. I've taken that on board. We're going to push that to just after the start of the show. So, James, what's your feedback, non-Detroit related? And
do you have any feedback non-Detroit related?
Of course I do.
All right, Matt, calm down.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I've got 6. I've got 6 non-Detroit ones and about 30 Detroit ones.
Okay, let's do your 6 non-Detroit ones.
But no,
okay.
What are you talking? What was that about?
Right, okay,
what's giving it attitude already?
What's your 6 points?
This is like a UFC weigh-in at the moment. Let's just hold it back until the fight. All right, let's chill out.
Just go easy, Mr. T-shirts. It's fine.
What does that T-shirts?
The sass
I'm
in
sorry,
the room
James.
right now.
I'm sorry. I did the Kickstarter and got you some money. I can have that back. Well, you know.
You're not having that back.
He's
Not
spent it
after
on
the
his
grief
holiday.
you put us through with that. It was- Anyway, so you see, this is the other problem with this. Is you said you didn't. You said you didn't want like any grief at the beginning,
names.
and there's like the trouble is most of the points I've got. I mean, I'm just addressing things that have been said. The thing
Can we get to point 1, please?
Okay, well, the thing that annoyed me the most at the beginning was when you did that whole thing, like totally throwing me under the bus about like going on holiday and how I hadn't told anyone. That's not true.
You threw us under the bus by not telling us you were going on holiday.
I did,
until a couple of days before recording.
I've got text evidence here of this, right? Because I was thinking, I did. Okay, admittedly, I didn't tell Matt and Sean. Like, I only told the main one, like, that I was going away. So, this is what I said. This was on this is Friday the 3rd of August, around 6:37. I said, I'll be away the week after next, though. I'm taking the kids away again. And then David says, yeah, no worries, and I know what you mean. So, you knew, David. You knew about that.
I totally forgot. Okay, I'll hold my hands up for that.
Yeah.
If that is true, then I apologise.
Okay, that's...
Sorry, guys. Maybe I should have passed that on. I think James might have thought I was passing it on. But I mean...
Or James could just put it in the WhatsApp group.
What day was this? What time was it?
Let's have a look. This was on Friday the 3rd of August, 6:37. You can have a look back at your iMessage.
6:37 a.m?
Yeah.
So, sorry, 6:37 a.m. or p.m?
AM.
Right, okay. So, James, don't tell me at 6:37 a.m. on a Friday that you're not going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, because I almost definitely wasn't paying attention. I probably just went, and then 6:37 a.m.
You've already apologised. It's fine. So just let it go.
That apology still stands. For future reference, don't tell me that you can't be on in a couple of weeks at 6:37 a.m. on a Friday.
That's not necessarily when I've said that. That's when you replied. So you replied at that time. So that, again, that's on you, not me.
When did you send it? You said you sent a message at 6:37. Now it isn't 6:37. So did you or not send a message?
Chances are it was at like 2:30 in the morning.
It probably was at about 2:30 in the morning on like the Friday. But either way,
brilliant, right?
You replied at that time. So, but you knew about it. So.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Go on.
You knew about that.
Don't do that again.
Okay, other feedback. You had that whole conversation about the T-shirts and, like whether you'd wear one with other gaming people around and stuff. I'm not wearing the one I've got at 2EGX. I think it's embarrassing. Like,
Why?
I couldn't do that. I feel embarrassed, like, to wear it, like.
Were you embarrassed to be part of this show?
I'm not embarrassed to be part of the show, but I'm embarrassed to be identified with it by wearing a T-shirt.
I'm embarrassed to be on it, just don't want anyone to know about it. That's the
James, your attitude has changed since we had those words on that bus that time.
Yeah, don't bring it up.
I'm definitely not going to tell anyone about it.
Right. Anyway,
I'm sorry, but you seem embarrassed about being on the show, and I know that isn't true. So are you lying to us all now, James?
I'm not embarrassed about being on the show. I'm just embarrassed about wearing a T-shirt. It makes you look like an employee, and I don't like that. It's a bit odd.
Well, technically, if anyone's an employee on this show, I mean, it's you.
Well,
right?
It's more work experience.
It's not. It's Mr. T-shirts over here. You know, he's the one who's...
He's dropped the Mr. T-shirts line again. Oh, God, I love James. I'm so glad.
Okay, anyway, so point number 3, I'm not breakdancing. I don't know how this has got out of hand. It's like, I don't know why...
Because you keep saying you won't do it. Just leave it. It's too funny to carry on if you get...
Well, either way, it's not happening. Point number 2...
because you said it's not happening.
It's not, I can't dance.
I've got images... Mate, cut to, right, if this was a sitcom, cut to James Farley breakdancing in his TCGS
definitely, yeah. You will not get me on that stage, cut to, like, doing flips and stuff.
Can't dance. Anyway, next
No,
one...
but you could breakdance.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, next one is point number 4. This was Garrity having a go at me about going off at you, David, about Yakuza. You see.
Absolutely right.
And what annoyed me about this is the reason that this happens, that he doesn't seem to understand, is it's because I know that 60% of your opinions, David, are just to piss me off. I know that's why you do that, and I know you're trying to annoy me.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. All of my opinions there were experiences that I had with the game.
I know, but it's the way you express it, and I know it's genuinely like designed to annoy me. So, and that's
As
why
I said,
get annoyed.
my life doesn't revolve around you, James. You think that because you're a fucking narcissist.
No, just because you just enjoy annoying me. And either way, that's why I get annoyed, so you still win, so fuck my life. You know, that's still happens.
Thank you.
I mean, that's why you're streaming Shenmue. I mean, I know that you're only doing it to annoy me. I know that that's the reason you're doing it. It's, you know.
You are weird about that, though. You are weird. James, what was it? You sent me a link today that said, here's a video that might explain the significance of Shenmue. I think you should watch it. I was like, no, you're right, mate.
You're like, no, I don't care. I just want to go in there and rip it to pieces.
Sorry, right, okay. There's a couple of things, because when I saw that, I laughed, right? But this first thing, I mean, alright, I didn't love Fahrenheit as much as you love Shenmue, but would you say you approached that game with the knowledge of the context of when it came out?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I don't think you did.
Of course I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Definitely didn't. Second one, do you remember last time I got really, really, really hyped up for a game? Like, super hyped. Say, Titanfall 2, for example.
Yeah.
And then you just come on and went, it's not good because it's too short.
I didn't say
but
it
what about the
wasn't good.
multiplayer?
I said it was good. I just wished it was a bit longer. That's all I said.
You said,
and then you went mental.
You said you overhyped it. It was not long enough.
You did overhype it.
But I was talking about the single player and the multiplayer. Yeah, well, the single player was too short. Did you like the multiplayer? Didn't play it. Right, so honestly, I'm going... last week, after we had our discussion about Shenmue on the WhatsApp group, I felt guilty about doing this stream, which should start yesterday as you're listening to this on Wednesday. Don't ask. But I think I've got no option now. I'm gonna have to really lay into it.
I know you're going to. I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm not going to be watching. So it's like
you are going to be watching.
You
are going to be watching. There's no way that you can avoid watching this, and I know it. You know it, and you probably won't admit it ever, but you will watch it. You'll watch at least 10 minutes worth of the stream.
I'm not. I can't do it.
All right.
Anyway, final point. Apart from one time, I have never mentioned Juiced outside of the podcast. I've done it once to illustrate a point. That was the only time it's ever happened.
It's a weekly fucking thing. I mean, you've just filled your weekly quota of mentioning Juiced again.
Yeah.
Like you've mentioned it now.
Everyone who's got everyone can tick their box now. That's this week done. Juiced is in the can.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You can't get away from that, James. You cannot get away from that. You keep talking about that game. It's getting embarrassing.
I'm not talking about it again.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, believe that when I see it, mate.
Thanks, Sean.
Is that it?
Thanks, Sean. Yeah. That's it. That's all I've got for that. I mean, apart from all the Detroit stuff, that's it.
Okay, right. Let's get on to listener feedback then. And this is Matt's time to shine because it's his part of the show and he loves it.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well call him Mr. Feedback. Or Mr. T.
Oh, good. Good, like it.
Darren Gargett, so last week he asked if our children mispronounce any games or any characters incorrectly. One of the ones his child said was like map. Oh fuck! I should have checked this, shouldn't I?
Map hands.
Map hands. The answer was Pac-Man. A lot of people couldn't get that one. The answer was Pac-Man.
Okay. Do you know
I can't believe we didn't get that,
with
frankly.
Well, I can, because I'd thought about it, and the thing was that every other character that you mentioned was from Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So instantly my brain's going, okay, who from Mario Kart could that be? And that's why I said Bowser, because that was, I mean, it was not even close, but yeah, I mean, so everyone was like, I saw people on Twitter going, I can't believe you didn't get that, mate. And I was like, well, all the others were Mario Kart, so my head was in Mario Kart, sorry. I didn't know he was just going to chuck another character in there.
Yeah, I definitely did think it was another Nintendo character, but...
Exactly.
Last week, obviously, we talked about the Philip Musin drama around IGN and the plagiarism. Sean Thomas emails in, enjoyed the chat about the recent IGN affair. The show Philip Musin heads up is Nintendo Voice Chat, probably my second most listened to podcast after TCGS. It's a real shame what's happened, as that show struggled for a barren decade of Nintendo releases admirably and should now be an IGN flagship show given the popularity of the Switch. Philip's appointment took the team ages to reach, and the show's core team, Brian Altano and Per Schneider, are some of my favourite podcasters out there who deserve better than having their faith in Philip proves wrong. The show seemed to be having a tough time replacing the previous excellent host, Jose Otero, when he joined Nintendo, and Philip's arrival suggested they were changing tact and going after a YouTuber host rather than a traditional journalist, which coincided with the show moving from podcast to video stream. Early shows suggested Philip was a bit naive, a bit nervous, a bit out of his depth. But when he spoke about games on camera he'd played and brought in developers to interview, it became apparent why they'd employed him, and he came alive. So I do believe he played those titles thoroughly and loves gaming, but I wonder if he simply couldn't do the journalism part. Obviously, there's no excuse and everything else about his behaviour and responses being negated any goodwill they would have earned. But I wonder if it's a case of rising YouTube star not being able to adapt to a professional journalistic role. I've nothing more to add to your excellent debate, but I really hope NBC gets back to being brilliant. Because of all the IGN shows, it's a little gem. I used to listen to NBC. I think probably when the Switch first kicked off, and I did really enjoy it. But I don't remember this guy being on there. But
I'll say a couple of things. The first being that not your attitude specifically, but I did see a number of people on the IGN Twitter account, like at replying them, saying, "I hope you've learnt your lesson now for hiring YouTubers." I think that's that's one of the noticed crimes in this, that now suddenly people are saying, "Oh, well, it's all because they hired a YouTube." No, that's not the case at all. And there's some talent out there that's going to miss out, because naturally people are going to be more cautious about hiring YouTubers because of this. And I think that's wrong, because, just because you're a YouTuber and you're talking about games on that medium, it does not mean that you plagiarize everyone.
I mean, to be fair, I think assuming IGN are even reading those replies is probably giving too much credit.
You're right, but it's not just there that I've seen it. That seems to be a comment that people are quick to make and judge, like, tar all aspiring YouTubers with the same brush, and that's it's not cool. And
of course, obviously, loads more stuff this week's come out, hasn't it? So it's even worse than it was last week.
But we'll get to that. The other thing is that if you love that show, it's not tainted the show. The good thing is that show will obviously continue, and they will find the right person. It's one of those situations where they've got someone on and he's turned out he's been a complete fucking prick, basically, and they'll shift him on, and then this happens on radio shows all the time. It happens on podcasts all the time. Things flow because it's sort of long form, and it goes on for such a long time. People swap in, people swap out, and shows find new tones and new sounds, and it adapts. And as long as there's an element of what you enjoyed about that show beforehand still about, then I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, as we've said, like, in a few months' time, I'm off for a bit, and I don't know what these guys are doing yet. They haven't really spoken to me about the plans or whatever. But whatever happens, if it continues, which I'm pretty sure it will, I guess. I don't know. I'm weird. It's weird. They've just gone silent. But if it does continue, then it will find a voice. Obviously, there'll be a period where it's strange because there's a shift in the chemistry and a shift in the tone of the show, but things progress and then they build up again. And so if you're worried about that podcast in particular, I really wouldn't worry about it. In fact, if anything, good to get him out now, find a replacement, and then they can get back to what they do best on that. I mean, I've never listened to it, but based on what you've been saying, yeah. Sorry, Matt, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, obviously, loads more come out this week than even last week. Obviously, 2 weeks ago it was the Dead Cells review, and then last week it was maybe it was a FIFA 18 review and something else, and now it's like it's all sorts, and it's like verbatim.
I mean, it's his LinkedIn profile.
His LinkedIn profile copy was taken from like how to write a good LinkedIn sort of description around a website. He, like loads of his like stuff he's done, I think like written and or video stuff was like verbatim from posts on NeoGaf, stuff on Wikipedia. Yeah,
it's pretty much everything, wasn't it? Look, it seems that he's just ripped off from other sources, which is
he even took a bit from a fellow IGN editor.
Yeah.
Which is
he's not
it's crazy.
He's not right, is it? It's gone from someone who's made a mistake to someone that doesn't understand the fundamental principles of what he was doing as a career.
And the fact is, in his video is like, look, I know Jason Schreier's got bee in his bonnet, or those aren't the words, but he basically said Jason Schreier's like taking him to task and like trying to ruin him. Like, go ahead and find other stuff. You probably won't, and people have done.
No, the worst line of that, Matt, was, I think he's trying to make, trying to get clicks off my name.
Yeah.
I mean, you've literally been trying to get clicks off everyone else's name on the internet, mate. You know what I mean? Like, it's, there's that whole thing as well that that his apology was monetized and all that sort of stuff. It's just fucking madness. Okay. All right. That's enough. I mean, we've been through that.
Yeah. I'm sure that story would go. I mean, do you reckon he'll do another apology? I think that's it. I don't think he's going to bother doing that one now.
If he's not, I mean, he needs to go quiet for a very long time now. Find a different job, different career, get off of Twitter, get away from it all. It's the only way to deal with it.
Change his name, the whole thing.
No, I mean, that's all fucking nonsense, He just needs to get away from everything and find something new to do. And it'll be all right.
I might tap him up as the next host of this show.
That's the point. Yeah, we're going to be missing someone.
Yeah,
a couple of months.
January.
So. I would love that because, as anyone knows, I'm sure Sean felt this at the time. When you leave a show for a period of time, you pray that it goes really badly, and that everyone every week is going, "Oh, bring him back! This is awful." So fingers crossed, get him on there.
Yep.
Well, when we get an unknown YouTuber called Milip Fusin, he's a new guy. You haven't heard of him before. He's going to believe.
I said Smosh instead of Smash. Oh no! Oh, what a go! Turn that into a meme.
Oh. Not now, Philip. Thomas McGinney. So ArtLamaFluff42 has emailed in or tweeted. I think it says. Anyway, hi folks, great pod last week as always. I was surprised, however, to hear about 11 minutes in that Matt had taken offence at one of my friendly tweets about the Kickstarter t-shirts, specifically where I thanked Postman Dave and admin guy Matt. He sounded genuinely irked at being branded an admin guy. I do hope he was kidding. If he wasn't, then I find this really interesting given some of the names he's been called in the recent past. For example, serial thief, cheating scum, Mario off the plate.
It's true.
And a cunt editing out laughter at Dave's jokes. Matt shrugged always off, and your admin guy is one that pierces that thick skin. Does Matt have some sort of latent ego that he's been struggling to contain, believing that admin is a demeaning title and thoroughly beneath him? Does he have a thing about administrators? Maybe a bad childhood experience involving staplers and paper clips? Well, I'd rather not go into that on this show, Thomas. If I did inadvertently offend Matt, I retract my tweet and replace admin guy with procurement overlord supremo. Hopefully that more adequately describes his crucial role in the Kickstarter campaign. Love you all, and I hope this keeps Matt happy. I mean,
you've nailed it. Matt has got an ego. He thinks he's the big man now, and
big man on campus, baby.
Stung him. That stung him.
What was a bigger badder man?
What did that is a real not private joke, but
it doesn't matter.
It's a joke that only one person will ever get. What that's really tickled me. What was it about admin man that got to you, Matt?
Because it felt like, it's just a guy doing the admin when I did so much more than that, but it doesn't matter. It's over.
Go on.
I'm very much glad the whole
thing. There's a lot of admin, to be fair.
Oh yeah,
he did
lots
do
of
t-shirts.
Yeah. Admin.
I mean, if he's the admin man, what's James?
Well, he's definitely not Mr. T-shirts, given he did nothing. Did you do anything, James?
He's Mr. Collection. God. Sorry, James. I know why you couldn't get involved, but I had to say something. Go on.
Okay. Grant. This guy tweeted this, and I responded because I wanted another answer, but he didn't come back to me. But his tweet reads as follows: Grant at GreatStun on Twitter. Only just catching up with last week's show. I love Matt, thank you, but he strikes me as a man who would be totally drawn in by a pretentious modern art installation. Just as the artist is blinding Matt with the hidden meanings, Turners would walk in to declare, nah, it's all bollocks, mate.
I think he's talking about Detroit, Matt.
What did I say? I found hidden meanings, and because even the week before in Absu, I was like, always people finding hidden meanings in this stuff. It's just literally. Anyway, if that's Detroit related, then I guess we'll save it.
You can't win.
I know. But I asked him for a response, and he didn't. He's too scared. So, Grant, if you want to, you can tweet in again, and I want to hear what that's about. Do you think it is Detroit? It must be Detroit, I guess, right?
Yep.
I guess.
Did you find hidden meaning? Yeah. I mean, we'll save this, I guess.
I don't know. You've thought about this way too much. Has it been playing in your mind?
You did find hidden meaning, and you didn't find hidden meaning, and there's a lot of.
We'll get to that. Okay,
let's just save it, Jesus, James. Adam
just
Turner.
Save it, James.
Feedback. If anywhere is more appropriate to wear your own t-shirts, then EGX and during your own show has to be top of the list. Also, I can please remind Dave that according to him, I was the only person to say hello to him at Rezzed, so maybe some self-promotion might help. That's obviously us.
That's true.
About wearing our own t-shirts. And
yeah, but the thing is that it wasn't down to self-promotion. I think it's down to everyone being, I mean, I could be wrong, but being scared of me because, James was right next to me and people were coming up to him and going, hey, James, yeah, I love the show or whatever, just like fucking ignoring me. Maybe I'm just not as big as I thought I was, but,
maybe.
Yeah,
that's
not the case.
I do definitely know why James doesn't want to wear the shirts in real life, because even when we're Res and like 5 people come up to him, he's like, I can't live the fame life. This is mental. So if he wore a t-shirt promoting it, if he wore a t-shirt saying basically I'm James Farley, he'll be swamped. Signatures, women buying him drinks,
people coming
a lot.
Up to him. People coming up to him and going, hi mate, yeah, I really like your show, it's really nice to meet you, yeah, keep it up, good work. And then like James sort of like looking at us like grimacing, like someone's just coming up and head butted him. He just can't deal with it. He can't deal with it. Can't deal with fame.
On last week's show we talked about spoiler casts and whether they're a good thing or bad thing, or whether we should or shouldn't do any more. SMW Oostv on Twitter would absolutely love a Life is Strange 2 spoiler cast. I thought your old Walking Dead ones were brilliant. Matthew Duffy goes to a bit of a different angle on that. Please go with an extra episode for Life is Strange talk. This gets too much airtime, and they will get the passion. Also, putting it into your Game of the Year thing last year with an episode to go was crazy, and you all said the last episode was not great. I love it. I love you, but spare us, please. So, some people are saying...
That's what we're doing.
Some people are saying basically, do a spoiler cast because we love you talking. Other people are saying do it because we don't want to hear it on the main show.
And that's what I said last week. I mean, on the main show, we will give our overall opinions, but... yeah, we won't bang on about it, and we'll keep that to the spoiler cut. I mean, that's what I said last week. I said we'll do this, so that we get it away from people that are sick of hearing Life is Strange, and for people that want us to go into even more depth and go into the actual story.
Yeah, we'll do it after the credit, after
decision
the music,
by decision. Right? No. We'll do it's just another night. We'll have a half an hour conversation because after the credits, Matt, we're not going to get. Like, we're going to be too tired to do it after do it any justice.
Yeah, good point.
And then we'll put it out as a separate podcast, like, a few days later.
We can do it.
That's
now.
the way to do it.
We've got the power to do it.
We can, exactly. That's what I'm saying. We have the power. Yeah. So let's do it.
Oodles emailed in. So last week, Matt, and now we get into the Detroit section of the feedback.
I think we should leave this and stick this at the end of that bit. Like, not do this bit now. Because otherwise I'm going to have to start getting into my points.
No, we're doing this now.
Stick this at the end of that bit.
Yeah, this is the end of the feedback. This is all Detroit now, so just calm down.
Wait. Slow down. We can't get into it now.
That's what I said.
Yeah, well, I can go through the feedback.
Right. James, I'm agreeing with you. You don't have to have a go at me. Fucking hell. Right. So let's do the news first. Let's get the news out of the way. Because people want to hear the news.
Do they?
And then we do the actual game chat. Yeah, they want to hear the news.
Okay, so we do news, then Detroit feedback, then James will start listing his 30 points.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Right, Go on then, James. Let's do the news.
Come on,
The news has been
news.
good this week.
What? Hey, Matt, just calm down. Let him get through the news so we can get a Yeah, I know you're chomping at the bit to beat the shit out of him, but this is not the time nor the place.
He might be
keep this
chomping the bit, or
civil.
he might not be. We're not entirely sure. You know.
Oh, good comeback.
Yeah. But anyway,
It might be the lamest comeback ever, but let's go. Let's come back. Come on.
It's the latest comeback.
Sorry, I went a bit different then, didn't I?
It's the latest comeback. Right. Come on, Newso.
Go on, James.
that's terrible. Anyway, there's been a lot of good news this week, actually. As in, well, not good news, but there's been lots of news, which makes a change
Is
because
the
there
news
hasn't been
good,
any
though?
for ages. But the first thing I want to talk about is okay. This
Man, James. James, never go on holiday again. This is too good. Go on.
okay. So this goes back to our E3 predictions, and loads of people have messaged me about this. I mean, I personally, I'm willing to let the prediction stuff go. I don't care about that.
Good. That's very good of you in August.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers.
It's fine to let it go.
It turns out that according to 343's Jeff Easterling, Halo Infinite is Halo 6. So
I mean, they said this about a week after E3, and we fobbed it off then. But we said,
Did they?
But it wasn't called. Yes, they did. Yes,
Okay.
they definitely did.
I don't
Well,
like. I don't. Am I really thick? Like, I don't get this. Like, yeah, it's like they're going. Oh well, yeah, it is the 6th Halo game. Yeah, I know.
No, but there's
what
more.
needed saying about this? I
No,
don't
there's-
understand.
there's
It's
more.
not though, is it? Because there's way more than that.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's the
there are.
6th, like, mainline one. Like,
Yeah, but I suppose what they're saying is that it's not an ODST and it's not a Reach.
I
This
guess,
is
but,
essentially
like,
But
six.
also, there's more, because during this Mixer broadcast, he said this is like, it's not just that this is the 6th one, this is also like a direct sequel to Halo 5, like continuing on from Halo 5. And he said that it's not some like weird, like prequel kind of thing. And he actually
Right.
used those words.
So if you didn't listen back to the E3 prediction show, James said that the first game that Microsoft would show off at their conference is Halo 6, right?
And they did.
And they didn't. They showed off... What game did they show off at the start of their
they showed
conference,
Halo
James?
Infinite, which is Halo 6.
Exactly, which is not Halo 6, is
Well,
it?
it is.
It's a different title. And we said, well, you shouldn't have been so specific. That's the whole point in trying to push these predictions through. If you'd have said a new Halo, we probably would have taken it, but you didn't. You said
Yeah,
Halo 6.
this is all just on the wording of it as well. So
No,
look,
it's
as I
not
said,
just that. I mean, it matters nothing because you finished last anyway. So
It's fine.
it's not
I'm
like you would
happy
have
to
won
let
the
it go.
thing.
But, I mean, there
Thanks,
are some other
James.
stuff that is interesting
You've got no
from
choice
this.
but to let it go. I've knocked it out your hands. It's smashed all over the floor now, and you're crying. You're crying.
Not crying, Dave.
Go on.
You're crying.
Not crying.
Next.
Steady on, Matt. Anyway, so the game's going to focus on Master Chief, and like, there's not going to be like the dual characters apparently that there were from Halo 5.
Thank God.
But
That's the worst bit.
The one thing that is weird, that's rumoured, this is not confirmed obviously, is that they're going to release it in 2 parts. So there's going to be like a single player at the end of 2019 and then multiplayer in 2020.
Oh, okay, I thought you were going to say, so actually it's Halo 6 and 7.
Yeah, 6.1.
They're not doing it Back to the Future. It's just no, it's just that.
It could, yeah. I mean that makes sense considering the way the sort of Game Pass stuff, and maybe they'll sell it in 2 packages. I mean that totally makes sense. That's a great way of doing it, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Next story.
No, okay, all right. No opinions on that, James. No, just straight on.
Because obviously a lot of people probably just play Halo just for the multiplayer.
Yeah, so they can just wait a little bit longer and then just buy the multiplayer.
If it means
It'll probably
just
end up
getting
cheaper.
single player
And
closer, quicker, I'm up for that, definitely.
So I'd have thought they'd have gone for the multiplayer first, because that is the thing, like Matt said, I think people would be more interested in.
no,
than single
because
player.
then they're going to release something else Halo that may distract from the multiplayer, which clearly they want to be the long-running, games as a service
thing,
type thing. So get the. It's like the way that Rockstar do it, isn't it? Give the single player a little bit of breathing room, then get the big,
the big
money
update.
spinner up and running.
Okay, next story is that
Comeback.
Bethesda and Sony are in
Comeback.
some potential standoff now over crossplay. And it's,
Who are? Sony and who?
It's Bethesda.
Right, okay.
So, and it's not over Fallout either, like Fallout 76. Apparently it's over Elder Scrolls Legends, the card game that they've got coming.
Oh, mate,
Oh, it's
just
about
lock
that.
that away from everyone. That's the way I deal with that. I'm with Sony this time. Go on.
So what it is, I mean, Bethesda have stressed that this isn't like one of those, like, wouldn't it be nice situations, but it's because the whole of the game has been designed to be played on any device. Like, so the whole point is that, you know, you can progress on, like, a smartphone and then change to, like, a PC or whatever, or, you know.
Right, okay. That's interesting, because for starters, yes, of course, I think Sony are being ridiculous and this needs to end, right? But why would you design a game like that? Knowing that knowing what Sony's stance is on this sort of stuff.
Because there's
Why
more,
would you do that?
Because there's more platforms than just PlayStation, isn't there? They can grab, like, you know, they can still...
Yeah, but they're saying
the question is, why have they bothered developing it for the PlayStation, knowing what Sony are like? Like, if they, like, it'll be a success elsewhere. I mean, this almost sounds like they've gone, oh shit, this might not actually be worth doing. If they're not going to allow cross-play, which we always knew they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's weird.
It's a weird stance to take. Like, we can all agree that Sony are being ridiculous here, and it would be better for everyone if they started to allow this. However, they've released a game knowing that Sony currently do not allow this, and are complaining that, I mean, I'm with you, Bethesda. I'm with you. It is stupid. But you can't use that argument that, well, our whole game is based on this. Well,
yeah, so we'll make the game
you
now.
You knew what the rules were. You know what I mean? What can you do?
I mean, it sounds like, I mean, the only thing we can assume is that they just went, well, let's just work on the port and we'll quietly try and strong-arm Sony into just allowing it.
Yeah, Bethesda also releasing a Switch game that can only work in 4K, and they're furious at the fact that... No, I'm joking, that's an exaggeration.
I think it is probably partly that, because apparently the game is currently being, like, overhauled. Like, they're reworking the thing so that it works on consoles. So that's probably where this comes from. It's, you know, they just thought, you know, we can chance our arm with this, but I don't think it's going to make any difference, is it? Sony aren't going to change their mind on this.
Well, if they didn't over Fortnite, mate, forget it.
I was going to say, if the world's biggest gaming phenomenon isn't going to change their mind, I don't think the Elder Scrolls card game is going to... They think, we should do it now, because Elder Scrolls Legends might not be on the console.
Well, I don't know. I mean, is it popular? I mean, I'm assuming it's a popular game. Is it out on anything?
It was out, and then it's been relaunched, but it's not. Right. There's no date of relaunch yet.
It's on the phones and that, and PC.
Any good, James? Sean?
I've only played a little bit of it, and it started sending me push notifications, so I got rid. Because I was already really enjoying Hearthstone at the time, so I was like, do you know what? I don't need this if it's going to send me shit. But I mean, I'm always open to it. I know. I think I talked about it before, or maybe I tweeted about it. And I got a couple of listeners saying, like, "No, it's really fucking good." So maybe time to go back. I don't know.
All right. Okay, just not on the PlayStation 4 console. Okay, next.
Time Splitters has got a new owner, and there might be a new game coming.
This is it. This is the one. I'm excited.
The series has been bought by, like, it's Coke Media, yeah?
It is Cock. You can say Cock. Media. It's fine.
Okay. So it's been bought by Cock Media.
I think some people say Koch. Some people say Koch. You probably say Koch if you've been.
Okay. What was that, James?
I'll say Koch. By who? It's Cock Media.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Say how it is. It's Cock Media.
All right, Matt. So they already own Deep Silver Dambuster Studio, and that's the team. You just
spoke to Matt like you saw him in the pub for the first time in ages.
Oh, Matt. That's because I was correctly pronouncing the name that's critical to this news story.
God, this is pathetic,
on,
isn't
James.
it? We're adults.
Why can't you just let me finish? This is ridiculous.
You're doing Cock Media.
You're doing all your stupid noises. You're doing all like the thing, and it's like, can't you just let me finish it?
The thing.
That was David.
Stop doing the thing, please, Matt. Stop doing the thing. Go on,
come back.
So,
sorry.
Okay,
such a dickhead. So anyway, this was Deep Silver Dambuster Studios, and they were formerly Crytek UK, and they were formerly Free Radical Design. So now Koch owns them, and they also own the games as well. So now they own the rights to the old games, and they can also make new ones. And they also bought the rights to Second Sight that no one remembers, which was actually a good game. I enjoyed that a lot.
What was Second Sight? Because I know loads of people saying, "Oh, Second Sight, cool," but I don't have any memory of that at all.
It was one of those. It was a third person sort of like adventure style game, but it had like psychic powers was like the draw. There was another game that was like really similar that came out at the same time.
Psyops.
That's the one. Psyops.
I remember that. Yeah.
I preferred Second Sight. I thought Psyops was a bit tacky, but but that's the thing. But Second Sight, it was good. But yeah, so maybe there'll be another one of those as well.
Right. Okay. Now, as people know, I'm a long time Splitters fan. I was a huge fan of the first one, even the second one, even more so. There's a few things that I need to say. The first being, some people not overhype Time Splitters, but forget that it was long dead before they stopped releasing Time Splitters game. I mean, Future Perfect wasn't great.
No.
If you go back to Time Splitters 2, it's fucking unplayable, right? Because of the control schemes at the time and stuff. What I will say is that there is very much a gap in the market for an arcade first-person shooter like Time Splitters represented. You know, the whole point with Time Splitters 2 is that the multiplayer was fun, had some nice new options and some interesting ideas when it comes to the multiplayer. The single player was fine. There was a few levels in it that were just brilliant. Like, felt like they were ripped directly out of
GoldenEye, wasn't it?
GoldenEye.
It was the first couple of levels were really good, and then it kind of just tailed
incredible.
off.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't. It was never terrible. Like, it was good to play.
Yeah.
But it really come into its own with the amount of characters that you could choose. You know, you don't get that in games these days that much. You know, this huge array of characters that you could unlock, and you had to really work to unlock them. And also the sort of arcade game, like the sort of mini games. So they had loads of challenges that you had to get 1, 2 and 3 stars in, and they were fucking fantastic. And there's totally room for a game like that. There's totally room for a game that Time Splitters represented when it come out. And it wasn't a games as a service type game, because those didn't exist back then. It wasn't, serious. It wasn't wacky in a sense that it just had, a gimmick attached to it. It was just arcade first-person shooting, and, a little bit like Bulletstorm, but I would say even more arcadey than that, because it was just full of these little mini-games that you had to do, loads of challenges. There's a game... There's a hole in the market for this. And if they nail it, Time Splitters could be back. I mean, I'm cautious because, as I've said, the way Time Splitters left us last wasn't in a great state. You know what I mean? But I definitely think there's room for a Time Splitters game in the current climate. Sure.
Yeah, the weird thing is, I also love Time Splitters, and the obvious thing you'd think with this thing is, okay, they'll just do remasters of the old ones. See what the reception is.
It's almost impossible to do.
That's what I was thinking.
How are they going to do that?
This, unlike many other games, if they just put this out, it would just feel weird and horrible. And the remaster, they would have to fundamentally change how the game worked, because it's just such a game of its time. So,
well, they'd have to completely change the controls, which I think is possible. You could do it. I wouldn't write it off if they said Time Splitters 2 HD. And the controls are iron sights and, the normal twin stick controls, and they get the controls right. I think it would be very playable. And I'd be interested in playing it. And I think I'd go as far as saying I bet the fucking multiplayer would still be banging, because the good thing about the multiplayer is the level design and the game modes. So they'd still be there. But I think it's the wrong thing to do. They need to come out swinging with a brand new Time Splitters that's built for sort of this time, because they could re-release it and do a HD and it would sell not very well. I wouldn't have thought.
I don't know. I mean,
how about the other way around?
Look at Crash Bandicoot. I mean, that's done crazy numbers as well. It's like number 5 still.
But Crash
in the
Bandicoot,
charts.
in terms of gameplay, was as good. It's as valid now as it was back then. What you might think of, running towards the screen and all that, okay, fair enough. But to actually play the game, I mean, Harry picked up Crash Bandicoot in the shops the other day. It was on like a demo pod in game in Sutton, or CEX in Sutton, and he played a few levels, and it just, it was just easy for him to play. So I don't think that has quite the thing is with Time Splitters is that the world of first person shooters have moved on so much that it's almost impossible to just
and also culturally, Crash Bandicoot is one for a whole generation starting to pick up PlayStation pads. Crash Bandicoot was like a cultural a huge cultural thing for, if for a certain demographic of user, a certain age group of user who grew up on PlayStation 1 stuff. So, and this isn't that. But actually, in terms of like, okay, maybe they release a HD version, then the new one. What if they announce a new one and then in the lead up to that, they said, here's a remaster, a bit like what they've done with Shenmue?
I mean, I would rather them... it's a stupid thing to say because they can't sell it separately if they do this. But if they were to say, here's the new game and then as DLC or something, here's the second game. I don't know. I don't work there, do I? But I've got a feeling it'll be a long time before we hear what comes of this Time Splitters license.
See, there has been more stuff because Free Radical did have plans for Time Splitters 4, but then that was like canned when they went into administration.
Yeah.
And there was also, like, according to this Eurogame story, there was also like a crowdsourced like fan version that they were trying to put together called Time Splitters Rewind, but that was going on for several years and nothing happened. So, yeah. That's
okay, all right. But no, I'm excited. If they nail it, there's definitely room for a game like this. But it's whether they nail it or not. You can't tell. You can't tell at this stage. Obviously, next.
All right. So there's two other stories here, but they're kind of like it's hirings, isn't it? And like companies that are buying other companies, etc. But Microsoft's new studio, The Initiative, as the one that they announced at E3, has been hiring new people, and the whole focus has been they've taken people from Sony Santa Monica, like their studio, Rockstar, and Crystal Dynamics, including like God of War's lead producer, and also
blimey,
and also the lead designer and writer on Red Dead Redemption as well. They've taken from Rockstar.
So they're getting serious then. They've obviously got some money to throw about.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's interesting. When you said that, I didn't expect them to get sort of big known people like that, but obviously they have.
They're clearly they're probably trying to emulate Sony, aren't they, with the, like big sort of single player games or whatever, which is a really good thing.
They totally need to, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine handing in my notice at Sony. So, where are you going? Have you got anything lined up? No. You're going to Microsoft, aren't you? No. That's horrific. All right.
And the other one is that Sumo has bought the Chinese room, and so they've taken them over now.
I mean, this is odd because the Chinese room basically lost all their staff. Not all.
They laid them all off. Yeah. Like, apparently, like the entire staff, apart from the two founders. Like,
so what have they bought?
They've
just hired
have they got
two
any
people.
licenses?
Yeah, I guess so.
What have they got?
Dear Esther. Maybe they'll just do Sega Rally mods for Dear Esther and
it's going to be Dear Esther Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Well, they said last year that they were done with walking simulators, and that they're now working on bigger projects.
Yeah, it's because you'd be bombing around villages in a Subaru Impreza.
Yeah.
Picking up bits of dialogue while you're hooning it around a field and stuff. It'd be wicked.
Maybe they would just visit in the office and just they really like the decor. And it was like, get me that office. I don't know. We're trying to make things funny. We just don't know the answer.
We've got no insight. We've got
no insight. Quick, say something about the office.
All right.
I was James. I'm not trying to cause a scene. Did you intentionally leave out the news story I suggested, or did you just forget?
It's boring.
Okay, fine.
Oh, you
told me. Why is it boring?
Because it's boring, isn't it? That something happens all the time. Who cares?
What, are we going to talk about it or what?
No, it's boring.
Well, what is it?
What happened?
Just very quickly, basically. So Forza Horizon 2 is being pulled from sale because they're just like, it's reached the end of its lifetime, so that's it. It's gone.
They did the same thing with Forza Horizon, like the first one as well.
Do you not think that's a really horrible thing to do, though? Games already have a preservation problem with hardware moving on all the time. So the fact that games are just like, licenses have run out, so bye.
What is happening? I mean, it's happened to. There was that news story about Grand Theft Auto, wasn't there?
Yeah, they started changing
the licenses, and they were literally modding it out of the game.
Yeah.
Which was pretty shocking. I mean, we're going to see more and more of this. So there was obviously a period of time where licensed music was quite finite, and it's probably cheaper to just pull it. Like the amount of money they must be making from that. I don't know. It's difficult because we've had Forza Horizon 3, Forza Horizon 4. It does seem quite recent for a game to be cut off like this.
The oldest one I can think of, and it's probably for the same reasons, is Outrun 2. And that was because the Ferrari license ran out. So that is a huge shame. Like, you just can't buy that game digitally anymore, and it's a classic.
It was like that with Scott Pilgrim as well, isn't it? Like, you can't
that's
get
right.
That anymore
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. I find that really scary.
This game was only given away 2 months ago with Games with Gold, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Forza Horizon 2, yeah.
It was, yeah.
They probably said, just get rid of it. We're going to put it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's shit, basically.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's not a good thing, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the near future, which is a shame. And I'm surprised that that's not been like announced for FIFA. Like, can you still buy really old FIFAs on?
They do that. Well, they don't make it. So, I mean, obviously you can still play it, but they switch off the servers, don't they?
I was going to say, which is shitty. But I understand that a bit more because that is an ongoing cost that they have to consider for a game that possibly not many people are playing anymore.
But maybe it's the same thing with Forza Horizon 2, though, isn't it? Because that's also, like, the game does rely on, like, internet connectivity as well, because of, like, the driver tiles and all that kind of stuff.
No, you can still play it offline. Like,
play FIFA
it doesn't
offline.
rely on that at all. Sorry?
You can still play FIFA offline as well, can't you?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know. Like, so I think the first FIFA on the new gen consoles was FIFA 14. Is that still on the store to buy?
Don't think so.
I'd be surprised.
No, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just certain games. This is what we're going to have to deal with. All right.
And the final thing I had here until the Life is Strange stuff was they had the indie highlights this today, like for the Switch.
Yeah.
And they had like this whole
this is good.
bunch of stuff. There was a lot
What stuck out for you, Sean?
Windjammers 2, mate.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I agree. They're like fine.
What's interesting is we still don't really know who's making it. So the only name that was on the trailer was .mu, who ported the first Windjammers, and basically that's, as far as I'm aware, they've only ever done ports of other people's games. So I don't know what the deal is there, who's actually making it, if it is them, and if so, what qualifications have they got? Because they haven't actually made their own game before, as far as I'm aware.
So in terms of Windjammer stuff, last year there was the original Windjammers came out on like consoles, didn't it? But then wasn't also like a HD version of Windjammers that people didn't take to?
There's been a couple of attempts to remake it, yeah. There's been a couple of indie versions. There was one, was it Disc Jam something that came with PlayStation
Disc Jammers
Plus?
Yeah, I think I know the one.
Something like that. I mean, that went nowhere.
Well, it was just like a rip-off, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this is before people knew that like the original was getting a re-release, so they probably, it was well in that territory of like, look, no one's tried to recreate this, so I think it's sort of fair game. But yeah, unfortunately, this didn't quite do it justice, which is a shame. But so that re-release of Windjammers is coming to the Switch, and they announced that we're also getting Windjammers 2, which is wicked.
Okay. For me, I mean that I can't remember the name of it now. The Gardens Between or some shit.
The Gardens
What was it called?
Yeah.
Was that what it was called? Yeah, I know. I fucked that right up on my tweet. I thought that looked brilliant.
Yeah.
Like it had a bit of Braid about it, a bit of Fez about it. But it had its own art style and looked. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and it's quite soon. It's coming out at the end of September, just around the corner. I was really, that was the game that stuck out for me, and I just thought the other stuff. I am kind of sick of the sort of ultra pixelated indie games these days. The games that all look like what's that one? But games that look like Celeste.
Yeah.
Where they're like super ultra pixelated.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that in this.
Was there? Which ones?
But
I
can't remember the names, but I remember seeing a lot. I was like, I'll just skip this because it looks like just real old school.
I mean, you say that Celeste is like one of the best games released this year.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's just a visual style that instantly seems to turn me off a little bit. I think it's because I played too much Towerfall. I hammered that game, and it's like now everything. Yeah, but no. I mean, they got a lot of indie games, but we were all expecting a little bit more because when we heard rumours that there was going to be a Nintendo Direct today, I was instantly thinking, we're finally going to hear about the online. Here we go. We're not talking about that again. Good, nice one, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Anything for you, James?
I mean, I thought the first game they showed, Nightcall, I like the look of that a lot because it looks like an interesting, story-based kind of thing. But also Monster Boy. Sorry, Master Boy. Was it Master Boy?
It's Monster Boy.
It's Monster
Boy. That's one, because that's another like Wonder Boy style game.
Yeah, I was about to say that the moment I saw that, I thought, James would be up for this one.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that.
Are you not interested in Streets of Rogue?
Nope.
I didn't quite understand what that was. Like in a good way, I guess. Like when I saw the title, I was like, "Oh shit!" So it's going to be like a roguelike, like brawler, but it's not really, is it? I didn't really understand quite what it was.
She said brawler, and then I was thinking, okay, there's going to be fighting, but it wasn't. It was either people around shooting people and stuff. And I thought that's not a brawler.
But then sometimes the character was like a giant, and sometimes they were a vampire and a werewolf, and I don't know. I didn't really know what was happening.
I just thought it was weird that they were basically using the streets bit of the Streets of Rage,
especially when it doesn't seem to have any real bearing on what the game actually is. But
yeah, it was just odd. I mean, legally, can they just whack that?
Yeah,
Sonic the vegetable. Like what is? I mean, I don't know. Go on.
Yeah. The only other one I thought looked interesting to me was This War of Mine. I thought looked.
Well, I mean, that's an old game.
That's been around for ages. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly one that I'd be more willing to play on Switch, but it's just like, it just looks so relentlessly bleak. I don't think I need it.
James, it does, I mean, based on the stuff that I've heard about the PC version, it's meant to be really, really good, and it sounds like you'd really, really enjoy it. For me, it's not so much a bleakness, it just looks like a little bit too slow for me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's always a game that I've had at the back of my mind where I think, if that came up, I might give it a go, because it does look, incredibly interesting, but... And it looks slightly better in this trailer than the screens that I'd seen of the PC version. I don't know if that was the case. But it looked like improved. The animation looks pretty smart. So I don't know if they touched it up a bit, but yeah, it looked good.
Murphy's Law looks... Morphe's Law looks interesting.
Law, yeah.
Like the multiplayer shooter where some parts of your enemies will get bigger or smaller. I thought that was interesting. I'm also looking forward to Moonlighter. I've been waiting for the Switch version for a while. Like, it got some good reviews and some amazing reviews, and then others like less good. But I've certainly been keeping track of it and waiting for Switch details to come out. So I'm very much excited to see what that's like.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Are we done with the news?
Well, the last thing was the Life is Strange trailer, which dropped just as we were about to record.
Just as we were about to record. I'm kind of disappointed I watched it. I shouldn't have watched it, and I'm going to avoid them from now on because...
You said that last time.
I want to... Yeah, I know, but I always intended to watch the sort of launch bit. I think it showed me a couple of things that I didn't want to see, and I must admit I wasn't as hyped. I mean, you all come on sounding pretty positive. And I wasn't totally hyped because I don't think it really told me the right things and just showed me the wrong things. Like, what I want to know is a little bit about the two characters, and I know nothing about them.
Yeah.
And it showed me things of cars flipping over and gunfire and stuff, and I'm kind of like, oh, maybe that would have been shocking to see, because there wasn't.
Yeah, I thought that it would have been better to chop that out of the trailer.
Yeah, and so. It told me the wrong things. I wanted to know a little bit about the characters, and that was it. Instead, I know nothing about the characters and saw bits that could have potentially been exciting to see, having just played through the first episode. But the most surprising thing is that, was it Chris wasn't in it? The kid from
Captain Spirit.
From Captain Spirit. So at first I was like, okay, which one's Chris? Well, no, he had blonde hair, and then the older guy said the younger guy's name, but I can't remember what it was. It wasn't Chris. Mark, I think it was. And I'm assuming that the older guy isn't Chris.
No, there was some similarities. I don't know. Yeah, it was saying none of the characters in the trailer were Chris. But
no, so I mean, maybe it's a red herring. Maybe because an event clearly happens with the police, and the initial sort of teaser trailer seemed to suggest that was somewhat paranormal. And as we know that, Chris has potentially got superpowers. So there is maybe that's a red herring. Let's see these two characters, but actually it's about.
So I've to my shame, I've still not played Captain Spirit. I thought they'd confirmed that it wasn't strictly related to Life is Strange 2. Is that bollocks? Without spoiling it.
They said two things. They said decisions you make within Captain Spirit will have an effect on season 2.
Yeah.
So that was one thing.
Okay.
Second thing they said is that if you pay attention to the story, and there's little hints in there,
right,
it will tell you what season 2 is about.
Okay.
But I think maybe they thought they were being a bit too smart, because I've not seen anyone go, that's what that means. You know what I mean? Or anyone that played that and said, this is definitely what it's going to be about because this, and this. It didn't have enough in there to sort of indicate what season 2 is going to be about. Yeah. But you should definitely play it, Sean. Because,
I absolutely will, yeah.
But I'm fairly sure at the end of when you finish Captain Spirit, it doesn't say see the story continue in season 2, or maybe I took that the wrong way and thought it was literally
something along those lines. Yeah. So it's a bit of an odd one, really. But I don't care. I mean, we'll get there. I'm looking forward to episode 1. I was going to play it regardless. Anyway, yeah, and it's just it's just this particular trailer didn't really give me enough to it didn't give me what I wanted. But then that's just my personal reaction to it.
No, I just didn't really get anything from it, which is fine. Like, I know I'm probably going to like the game. I don't need the trailer to tell me loads, but yeah, it was just like, remember the teaser? Also, here are 2 children.
Yeah, I know. That's it. And we're the wrong people to comment on this, really, because we're already sold. We're already in day 1. And this was going to do nothing to convince us. So someone that doesn't know anything about Life is Strange, maybe they'll have a different take on it and see it as a little bit more exciting. But James, what did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I like what I think that the direction they're going, because it was linked into the first trailer, obviously, and I know it looks like it could be an interesting journey. This idea that it's these 2 people sort of escaping from something that they've done, and they can't. They're just escaping into the
definitely.
woods.
Yeah, I would not argue against that. I think you're right. Okay, cool. We done?
We're done.
Yeah.
Right. So here's how this is going to go down. We've all got games to talk about, and we will get to them. I mean, we need to address the feedback first. Then it's straight into James versus Matt. We've all been looking forward to this. If you haven't listened to last week's show, Matt was quite critical. Matt. So basically, James played Detroit when it came out, and he hated it. Matt played Detroit last week, and he loved it. And Matt was quite critical of some of James' criticisms, and James seems to be quite. He seems to be ready to defend himself and maybe attack back. What we need to do is keep this fair. So I've said, Sean and I will sit back, we'll mediate. So if something goes on for too long, or if points are being brought up over and over again and we're getting nowhere in the discussion, Sean and I will step in. I'm not going to get involved. Now, there is one side of the argument that I agree with and one side of the argument that I disagree with. I agree with James. But I won't bring that up during the discussion. I'm not going to pile into Matt because that's not a fair argument. We're going to keep this man versus man. Okay? This is James. So James and Matt, remove your shirt now.
It's already off.
Okay, good.
We're ready. Some clothes on. Maybe it's just a room. It's very hot.
Okay. So let's get the feedback out of the way, and then we'll get to the main event.
Okay.
Matt.
Oodles emailed in. So last week, Matt made the somewhat contrarian statements regarding Detroit. Now, as I feel deep down, he's probably had a rare case of the reverse hype syndrome. RHS is a common ailment that contains many that many contrarians catch, especially after negative hype around games or movies arise, like the community handled Star Wars prequels or Duke Nukem Forever apologists, all victims of RHS. However, Matt's discussion has been somewhat contagious because after the episode went live, I've seen numerous people stating they also want to play it or give it a chance. Signs of RHS are hipster traits, nervous laughter, wants questions about RHS, denial, and editing feedback. Good luck to Matt, and Godspeed to James in his crusade against the cage games. Gary Dutton tweeted in. Basically, he said, I can only assume Matt saying that there's a scene in Detroit that evokes The Last of Us is a deliberate ploy to get me to tweet in. You know what else is visually impressive, Matt? A nuclear bomb. You know what else has branching paths, Matt? A big shitty sewer. Now, we had a bit of a discussion on Twitter about this.
That discussion was actually, James, did you see that discussion? Because that was actually genuinely funny. Genuinely funny. Go on.
I mean, I'm not going to go over the whole conversation, but basically, Gary and James may bring it up, who knows, had issues. The fact that I said there was a scene in Detroit that evoked a scene in The Last of Us. I'll let you look at the exchange. I haven't got anything to say that because I think I'm probably going to have to discuss it with James in about 2 minutes. Boateng, at Boateng on Twitter. Rarely do I agree with Matt Murray's views on video games, but I'm 100% backing him on the Detroit business. Boy, done good. Thomas Lamafar 42. Matt's eulogy on Detroit. I worry he's disappeared down some weird Channel 5 rabbit hole. Please, James, come back to nip this in the bud and help poor Matt come back to reality. We need to correct him or he'll get booed on stage again. That's going to happen anyway, Thomas. Danny Two Porks at Dan Parmesan. So having put around 6 hours into Detroit, Become a Human with at Grana Hat. I'm with Matt Murray on this. It so far is a solid experience, decent narrative, and looks great. Connor chasing the deviant android was far tenser than a lot of similar movie set pieces. And I'll end with Solvent. Detroit is not only one of the most ham-fisted and poorly written things I can remember encountering, it also goes further and manages to be offensive to victims of violence and domestic violence. Team Farley. I got a few others, but those were the choice ones, shall we say. Okay. Probably about to hear more now from James, no doubt.
Well, I think James should start. Let's try keep this relatively civil. James should start.
He's got 30 points.
Matt,
I guess he'll just...
Matt, you were able to talk about this while James wasn't here, so I think it's only fair that James gets the ball rolling with this discussion. Okay, are you both ready? James, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Bing bong. This is a public service announcement by Spoiler Alert. If you want to skip the Detroit argument between Matt and James, then please fast forward 30 minutes. Although if you do that, you'll miss out on some petty insults. It's up to you. Bing bong.
Okay. James, the floor's yours. Go for it.
Okay, so I did enjoy your discussion.
Thank you. Okay,
about
so
Detroit.
what else are we doing?
I mean, the thing that I found most interesting. No, the thing I found most interesting, like during your whole sort of like discussion about this, was that you argued against yourself quite a lot whilst you were talking about the game.
I was basically being fair. I was just saying, good things and bad things.
What, by contradicting yourself?
Well, I was just saying some things I liked, some things I didn't like.
Well, no, you said at one moment you said that the writing was really bad and everything, and then later on you said it was really good, and then you changed your opinion again later as you were talking about it. But anyway, one of the things I did want to bring up straight away was that you said that some of my arguments were ridiculous. Which of those were ridiculous, Matt?
Basically, a few weeks, I listened back to the previous podcast, we discussed it, and you were basically making a lot of arguments about why Fahrenheit's issues, and that was lumped into the Detroit conversation. But only because you had obviously very recently played Fahrenheit, and and that comes straight off the back of, all the other games basically. So you're in a massive hate mindset, and then you're like, Fahrenheit, straight into Detroit.
Let him finish, James. James, let him finish before you jump in. Go on.
I'm finished.
So what I was doing there, Matt, is I was looking at David Cage's work overall and using that to sort of demonstrate the fact that since when did Fahrenheit come out? Was it 1999 or something? Things haven't changed. There's been no massive evolution in his style or ability, over that time. So that's I was using experience to try and illustrate that. Before I get into the specific points, one of the things you said at the end of last week, which was mad, which you said he can't argue that I'm wrong because everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yeah. That's true, Matt, but that's the kind of thing that Brexiteers say.
It's no need to get politics into this. We're just discussing a computer game.
Yeah, that's what Brexiteers say when they they haven't really got an argument, so they just say, "Well, it's my opinion, isn't it? It's my opinion. You can't argue with that." And it's
I'm not arguing to take back control. I'm just talking about this game that I enjoyed.
So anyway, also you said I hate...
It sounds like you're shirking the responsibility of putting together a decent argument there, Matt, I'll be honest.
Well,
no,
here's definitely my opinion.
Sean, I kind of think that Matt did all right then, because
you don't win an argument by saying, it doesn't really matter though, does it? It's only a game.
No, but you can't really turn around and say... You can't really turn around and say, I like this piece of media content. Well, that's what Brexiteers say.
No, that's bullshit. Because also, I mean, because he was also indicating that because I've played all these games like recently, and I'm coming from an informed opinion based on experience, this makes my criticism less valid for some reason because of the fact that I've been close to his games.
No, it's not that. It's just that you hated all of them, and then I think you're coming to this game with an agenda.
Okay. You said that I hated all of them, even though then later on you said that there was a number of positive things that I said about the games.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a number of positive things you said about this game, certainly about Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you've already just said
like
that.
I've also said positive and negative things about the game. It's not a perfect game.
You've already said that it was like a hate fest and that I hated David Cage, and that's the only reason that I didn't like this game.
The podcast we put out over the last 2 years, and you haven't had a lot of good things to say about it. So then coming into this,
it's been crap. That's why.
I was going to say, what if David Cage's work is just consistently rubbish?
Exactly, that's the point. And it's like you're just.
We're not supposed to be helping him out here. We're supposed to be sitting back.
Okay.
As a mediator, I would like to point out that you're not mediating.
James loses a point for that.
Right. Okay, let's...
Yeah, James. Fucking hell.
And also, I mean, the final thing about this was that you also said that no other game is criticised like a Cage game, and that's just bullshit. That's complete rubbish.
Okay, name one.
What do you mean? There's loads of games that get criticised for stuff.
Where people go into this much detail about every element of the game, and picking up he hasn't, things haven't progressed in 20 years, or look at this compared to every other branching narrative game in the history of games. It's can't we just enjoy it or take it for what it is? I mean, I don't know of many other games where they are ripped apart the second it's announced, or I don't know. Well, can you name it or think of another game or director or series or developer?
The point with that is it's not that happens, but games can be criticised in exactly the same way that Cage games are. It's just that Cage games have been criticised for a reason, and it's because they haven't evolved over this time. The only thing that's improved is they visually become more impressive, but then all the other problems still exist through each of it.
But I mean, it's just my opinion, but I certainly don't think any other game gets ripped apart. It's just the easiest thing in the world. Oh, David Cage, brilliant. We'll just hate that because it's you don't even have to think about it. You just, it's David Cage, easy. I'll score some points.
I played all of them, Matt.
Huh?
I played them. That's why I've got the opinion that I've got.
And that's perfectly valid. I'm not really arguing about your opinion. You can have whatever you want. I'm just saying I didn't expect to like this game, and yes, it's not perfect.
Matt, you did expect to like the game. You said before pre-release, you kept on saying about how excited you were about the game.
And then after you guys talked about it, I'm like, I wasn't rushing out. You said you want to buy it. I'm like, I'm not really that fussed, really. And so I certainly wasn't. I mean, I loved Heavy Rain. The others, I paid 2 minutes for Fahrenheit. Didn't play Beyond Two Souls. And then after the reviews for this, I actually were largely positive, but for whatever reason, I wasn't really fussed in the end. And then so I sort of came to it thinking, well, it's not the game maybe I thought it was going to be after a lot of the hype pre-release and the trailers. And then when the reviews are it's fine, and you guys are it's the same or not great, I wasn't. I was like, okay, well, whatever. And it's only because the guy from work brought it in, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised, actually, considering a lot of the hate and the vitriol that's gone against this game.
I mean, one of the main things that you focused on as being something that you thought that sort of spoke to you or that you felt was really good was this sort of child in peril stuff and everything. Yeah. Did you not feel that was just incredibly hackneyed and cliched the way it was put across? And that you've got a villain that they use to try and sort of, make you feel for this character that is so ridiculously cartoonish and the performance is so wooden that it's really difficult to take it seriously. I mean, I don't particularly like that. The drawings in the domestic abuse scene that you admitted.
I said that was rubbish. That is a joke.
Exactly. So how can you? Okay, you admitted the drawings in that scene were funny, right?
Yeah.
How did that not take you out of the experience? And how could you take it seriously after that?
I can't answer that other than say that Cara and Alice's story definitely affected me emotionally, and it was this about the story. This about the fucking drawings. Alice said she was scared or cold. I'm like, oh my god, that's hit me right in the heart. I've got to protect this child.
But why? When later on that broke all the rules of the world that they'd established as well. Didn't you just question that at all?
I mean, it did, but it didn't make me stop feeling the things that I felt in the previous hours of the game.
It's based on lies, Matt. It's based on lies, though.
I mean, I can detach myself from that and just enjoy it for what it is. And yes, I said the twist is such a non-event. I guessed it earlier. It happened. It's sort of been and gone. This is stupid. But I don't know. I managed to detach myself enough and enjoyed what I played up to then. and I guess I sort of wanted to see a story through, as I spoke about last week. But yeah,
you see, that's the other thing. You said that the twist was poorly done, and it's like a non-event.
Yeah.
But like David said, that's like the peak of the story. It's like, and it's supposed to change the way. It really changes the way that everything has come before. But you're just like, I'm going to ignore it. So you're basically saying that
I don't know what to say. It just didn't bother me. It was just like, oh, well, yeah, you know, it wasn't like, oh my god, it's an incredible twist in the movie, or that was like a really poorly done. It was just. It just didn't affect me, and it certainly didn't change how I felt previously or after in terms of their story.
So you imagined what the game was about?
What?
Like, you just like, it's, you know, like David Cage, you know, he set up this, you know, this massive, supposedly massive twist, you know, that's like coming up, but you're just like, I don't like this, I'm just going to ignore it, it's nothing to do with the story.
It just didn't affect me.
Okay.
You can't even go back at that, can you?
I can't understand how you can detach what you're seeing on the screen from the story that's being told to you. I don't understand how you can do that.
Also, can I just step in now and just say, I think I'm just going to crowbar in a spoiler bot at the start of this segment. A, for people that don't want to hear this discussion, and B, so that you can go into a little bit more detail over spoilers. Continue, James. Let's get back onto the specifics of the games, because the arguments at the moment has been against each other's approach to the game. Let's get back to the specifics.
Okay. Well, one of the other things that you talked
James,
about, like, the character writing.
What are we on? Oh, 30?
We're on point 7 at the moment, actually. But I have been dancing around, so it's fine.
So you can dance.
So
yeah, you've got the
square R2.
Guys,
so you also
actually
at one point
around. That's you spinning around on your head in front of your microphone. That's how that would sound. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. Cut that.
Okay. At one point, you said that the characters. You said, I think the characters are well written, and you said, like, case in point, the painter guy. Like, you said he was really good, and you said that it's a lot less. You said it's a lot less laughable than David Cage's previous games. You see, I'd agree with you to an extent there that it is a bit less laughable in most sort of instances.
It's definitely less
also because it's
overall. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
But it's also because it's fucking boring as well. That's the other reason, because it's so poorly put together, and the dialogue is so poor that it feels like a game from the early 2000s. Still, that's still.
Okay, but that's two separate arguments. Surely, the conversation there is about if it's laughable, yes or no. So you're saying it isn't laughable, but it's because it's boring. I mean, I wasn't arguing whether it was or wasn't boring. I was just saying it wasn't laughable.
No, because this builds on the point that the dialogue is so poor, and you admitted as much, and you said that you didn't believe in the androids because of the way they were written, and yet you're still saying that you had this emotional experience from the game. How? Like, if you know that it's really poorly written, if you know, James, that the dialogue is so poor, how can you... How can you be touched by this? When
I know you find it really hard, but I was. The heart feels what the heart feels. I can't describe it. I didn't expect it from a David Cage game.
But then you've also said here, you said, okay, so with the narrative structure, you said it tries to tackle much bigger themes than Heavy Rain, but fails. And it's like, then you also, like, you talk about, like, there's the slavery, the Holocaust stuff, and you say it fails at that as well.
Yeah.
So these are, like, the key themes of the game. And Kara's story as well also covers that. And you've said it fails at doing all of those things. But you still think it's really good.
Yeah. I still enjoyed the ride.
So it's a crap ride, and it's
I didn't say it was a crap ride. I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the ups and downs.
Okay, it fails at everything, at all the story beats it tries to set up, but it's still a fun ride. Yeah,
it doesn't fail at every story beat. There has definitely significant issues it has with it, but I enjoyed it overall. I enjoyed the game. I implore others to give it a go and have their own opinion, not just be swayed by everyone else saying it's crap. Oh, because he's the crap on this thing. I mean, some people have been tweeting me saying they've enjoyed it. That's fine. Or some people say they hate it. That's also fine.
I've got no problem with that. People can enjoy it as much as they want, but you can also have a critical opinion of the game being not very good. It's not. I mean, you can.
Yeah, but I don't think it's all or nothing. I have had a bit of a critical opinion about the game. I've said lots of things aren't good. I've enjoyed bits of the game as well, and that's overall. I've come out enjoying the game much more than I anticipated. It's not like.
But then you've also said that my opinion of the game is unreasonable. Why?
I think everyone that knows James, you've clearly got like a bit of anti-David Cage agenda. I mean, just like from day dot, like that's hardly like a crazy bit of a crazy opinion. Like that's just how you've been with David Cage games from day one.
They're not very good. He makes not very good games.
Okay. I mean, but I enjoyed this one hugely. Okay, have you got another point?
Oh dear. Okay.
No, go on.
Well, there's little point, is there? Because you're not. There's no point in debating with you at all. Because there's been like contradiction after contradiction, but yet you've admitted that it's not very good. You've admitted that it fails on almost every level as far as like storytelling goes, but you still enjoyed it, which is fine. You still enjoyed it, but I still don't understand why you still feel that my opinion is so invalid.
I just think because you've clearly come to this game like and not given it the slightest chance. But actually, we'll maybe come back to that. But one other thing I definitely want to discuss is like, so I said there was a scene in this game that evoked The Last of Us, right?
You were trolling by this point, right?
So what?
You were trolling by this point, yeah?
Like you and Gary both like, how can it possibly be? And I tweeted a picture to Gary of like, here's a scene in Detroit where there's like a Ferris wheel. Here's a scene in Last of Us where there's a fucking Ferris wheel. And I was like, do you see any similarity in this scene? And
yeah, there's
like,
a Ferris wheel
sure
and a kid and two people in the same scene. But then the whole those scenes are completely different.
I just said it evoked a memory. It evoked us. I think it felt like Alice and Carl Against the World. Obviously it's very, very similar vibe in Left Behind and Last of Us DLC. There's like suddenly it's like there's piece of history from like the living world that they knew that's no longer here, but it's still there. It's still like alive in their context, even though their world's been totally disrupted and smashed apart. And although it isn't an end of world story for Alice and Carl, it certainly felt that way because every single human, every other character is anti-android. It felt like it's them two against the world, trying to survive and trying to get to their destination. Obviously, that's very, very apocalyptic and end of the world stuff is obviously a crucial key theme to The Last of Us. And I don't know, all I can say is, it evoked a similar memory. I'm not saying the writing's the same. I'm not saying it's a similar part of the story. I'm literally saying there was a Ferris wheel. It was a piece of the world they used to know, transported or brought back into this new world that they've had to live in, and that's why it evoked a memory of that other game.
Okay, so earlier on in the game, probably when a character picked up a gun, you were like, this reminds me of The Last of Us. This is very similar to that.
No, because picking up a gun is just such a common element in a million games, whereas a Ferris wheel in what felt like quite an apocalyptic setting. I mean, again, I know Detroit isn't that, but that's certainly the vibes I got given the stories at that point. Like, a Ferris wheel is hardly like picking up a gun. A Ferris wheel's not in every single game. I'm not saying it's just literally the Ferris wheel. It just, at that point story, their story together.
But Matt, the build-up to that part with the Ferris wheel in Detroit is one of the worst parts of the game. Like, it's
stupid. The whole scene wasn't needed, but I'm still saying
exactly. So then, how can you say that it made you feel like you did when you played The Last of Us?
I didn't say that. I said it evoked a similar memory,
and because it looked the same.
Because I just explained more. I'm not going to explain it again. It's not just visual. I mean, but even if it was, who cares? I just said it evoked a memory. Would you agree that the two scenes side by side are similar?
No, I wouldn't.
So two pictures of two Ferris wheels side by side, there's no correlation.
They're visually the same, but the context of what's going on in those scenes is completely different.
I was just thinking...
And how they've also reached those scenes as well.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about their entire journey up to that point and whether that changes whether it is or isn't a fucking Ferris wheel in the scene. Next point.
Okay, one of the other points that you made repeatedly was that video game stories like that are good ones are few and far between. Like, you said here that, Detroit, it's good that David Cage is still doing this kind of stuff, because there aren't that many, like, sort of good stories. And I don't think that's true either. I mean, it's still, as I've said repeatedly, it's still stuck in the 2000s. And it's like The Last of Us, Walking Dead, Life is Strange and all that never happened. It's not an improvement, Matt, at all. I mean, just the fact that he's still making these games, which are these, like, sort of narrative stories, they're still not good. They still haven't improved. And is it worth them sort of continuing like this?
Well, when Heavy Rain came out, I thought, oh wow, sure we're going to have a massive slew of these games. And I guess even in 2018, I'm quite surprised we didn't. I thought loads will be trying to do it. Maybe they felt like they didn't have technology, or they couldn't be bothered. Obviously, we had games like The Walking Dead and Life is Strange, which is amazing. But this is doing something a little bit different, because obviously Life is Strange is quite stylized. Walking Dead was incredibly stylized. This is obviously going for that realism angle. It's got the QTEs. Obviously, Walking Dead sort of cut down on that. Life is Strange is more about sort of engaging with, sort of interacting with the environment rather than sort of QTEs between characters, really. And so it's a different vibe. But yeah, I was just surprised. And I'm thankful that someone's trying to do something a little bit different, because no one else is, and I was just surprised.
But that's not true. That's just simply not true that people aren't doing this. There's loads of sort of story-based games like this now. But it's just there's not ones that have the amount of money that's thrown at David Cage games. But there are certainly better stories out there that deserve support.
There are definitely better stories out there, but generally, would you say on overall the quality of video game stories is hardly like every single one smashing it? I'm fairly sure generally the opinion of video game stories is that the great ones are fantastic, but generally the great ones are pretty few and far between unless you really seek them out. But it's very easy to play lots of crappy stories in games.
Yeah, but you can say that about any medium. Like you can say that about cinema. There's loads of terrible films.
I was arguing about games.
Yeah, but that's nonsense though, because you're saying that there's hardly any good video game stories, which is just not true. There are lots of really good ones.
What am I saying? Obviously there are good stories, but overall, I think the quality of good stories versus bad stories, the bad stories weigh the good ones. And I think we're still getting to a point with our video game narrative where games like Last of Us and stuff are bringing it forward and creating incredible stories. I'm not even saying Detroit is an amazing story. I'm just saying I'm happy someone is doing something a little bit different.
You're proving your own. It doesn't make any sense, Matt, at all.
I think my point in the time is just I'm glad someone's doing something a little bit different, and I'm excited to see what the next one is.
He's not doing something different
all right,
at all.
We're going around.
He's doing the same thing since 2000, just with better visuals.
I'm stepping in now as mediator. We're going over the same
other games.
We're going over the same points here. Have you got anything else to address, James?
I mean, okay, there is also the stuff about the branching storylines, because Matt talked about this as being surely. No, because it means that the narrative cohesion falls apart. And you admitted that yourself. You said that trying the different options and trying the different pathways made the story have less resonance for you.
Yeah, but I was still impressed with the sheer variety and a number of different branching paths that this game offers.
Yeah, but even if there's branching paths, to be honest, it's a bit like what Gary said. If they're still going in bad directions and they're still poorly written, why does it matter if there's so many branching paths?
Again, that was my argument. My argument was it's enjoyable that a game has many different branching paths. I mean, whether the endpoint is vastly different or not. That when I was discussing with this guy from work, it was interesting that we could discuss a game and some scenes were totally different than his or mine. I didn't see some, he did, and that's interesting to have a discussion around the game. And the flowchart, maybe arguably they could at the end of the game rather than every scene. That did sort of take you out of the experience, but it was interesting, and there's lots of different elements for the game. There's lots of different elements to each scene, and I thought that was just interesting, and I enjoyed it for that.
Okay, I'll let you have that one, to be honest,
because that's letting you have it.
Yeah. Because there is an element to that, because it is it's your own experience. If you go back and try it again, that's up to you, whether it's going to destroy that or not. Yeah. Okay, last thing I've got to say is you said it's the easiest thing to do to hate David Cage games. Yeah. We've been over this a bit already, but as I just want to restate that, yes, and that's because they're not very good. And I've played them all recently. There's no evolution, there's no improvement. He's a bad writer, and that's why people say he's bad. There you go.
Why are you playing his games then?
Because they're interesting to experience when you're streaming, aren't they?
Oh, okay.
Because they're funny, Matt, mostly, is the main reason I played them. I played them for comedy value, not because I find them enjoyable or touching.
30-hour comedy value for Found That's quite a lot for a gag, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good value for money.
Yeah, you do whatever you want with your time. I'm saying, it is the easiest thing in the world to hate David Cage games. It's you don't have to have an opinion to do it. It's just Oh, David Cage is shit, isn't he? What
do you mean you don't have to have an opinion to do it?
You don't have to think about it. Like, I mean, you know, people aren't exactly going to every game like, okay, I'm going to give it a totally fair sort of whack. I'm going to see what it's like. It's just, it's a lot of the same quotes. And yeah, I'm not saying he's a genius. Very, very far from it. You know, like I said, Detroit fails on a number of different reasons and themes. I'm just saying, overall, I enjoyed the game way more than I thought it would, and I would certainly recommend it. And I'm glad I played it, definitely. And I think I enjoyed it more than Heavy Rain, actually. But again, I think, as I said last time, I think if that wasn't for the Alice and Carl story, who knows where I'll be right now. But that did happen, and I can't think of an alternative, so it did happen, and therefore I enjoyed the story.
At least Heavy Rain had some intrigue. At least it wasn't just fucking boring, Matt. That was the main problem with Detroit. It was incredibly boring.
I didn't think it was. I liked the pace it went along.
Did you like wandering around looking for graffiti for ages?
That was
that a good bit of the game?
You said like it's fucking half an hour cleaning a room or whatever. It was 15 minutes. I timed it.
Not cleaning the room. I'm talking about trying to find the graffiti. Did you really enjoy that bit?
That wasn't that long. It was fine. It was just, you know, it wasn't that long. I was like, you know, where's it going to take me next? I was enjoying where's it going to take me. I wasn't bothered.
Where's it going to take me next?
I wasn't bothered about it. Jesus.
It's terrible.
Right. Okay.
Oh, are you satisfied now, James?
Well,
no, because I still... Well, I'm not satisfied because I still don't know why you have this thing against me disliking this game. You know, I've got no problem with you enjoying it, thinking it was good, but I still don't understand why you think that my opinion is not valid because I've played a lot of David Cage's games. I mean, that is Brexiteer logic.
But
this idea of
but you've come in, like, I've come in on, you know, on let's say like a level opinion, like sit. I'm ready for the game to just, you know, persuade me or dissuade me, depending on how the game goes. You've come in at like -20 on opinion before you've even started the game.
That's bullshit. And you admitted yourself that I said a lot of positive things about the game when I talked about it, which is true. I did, because there are things that I thought were good about it.
I started -20. The positive things is still -10. It doesn't matter. That's bullshit.
Now listen, you two. You are each now going to have 1 minute to do your closing statements.
I don't need a minute.
Okay, well, you get in a minute. Matt, I'll give you a sort of starting sentence, and I want you to. You've got 60 seconds. Matt, you like Detroit Beyond Two Souls because
what? No, Beyond Two Souls. What?
Oh shit! Fucking hell! Detroit Beyond Two Souls. Is that what I said?
Yes, it's just.
You've blown my mind. You two have blown my mind. I did quite enjoy that, but I mean, it did seem like drunks outside of Wetherspoons at 2 a.m. just before James texts me to say he's not on the show next week. Right. So you liked Detroit Become Human, and James gave it an unfair appraisal because your minute starts now.
I think James gave this game an unfair appraisal because he came in with an agenda before he even started it, and Clear's opinion was skewed because he's hated David Cage. I think a lot of listeners and ourselves I can appreciate James has had a not great opinion of David Cage since day one. I don't think this game is exactly going to change his mind. I feel like I've gone in thinking, I don't know what this game's about, whether it's good or bad, and I've enjoyed it. But, James can have his opinion. That's fine. I can have my opinion. And whether you think something's bad or not, I can't lie and say I thought it was bad because I enjoyed it. And like I said countless times, maybe if it wasn't for like the Alice and Carl story, who knows where I'd be. But that did happen, and I enjoyed it, and I'd certainly recommend it. And I think that's about it for me. Do I have another 40 seconds?
Dave?
And your minute's up. Right, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to... He's got the minute. If he chooses to drop short, I'm not just going to suddenly jump in.
All right.
40 quid. James. Detroit Become Human is a terrible game, and Matt is wrong, because your minute starts now.
Detroit is a... See, I don't want to say it's a terrible game because it's not. It's not the worst game ever made, like not by a long shot. But by Matt's own admission, repeatedly, it fails on almost every level that it tries to, like, for the things it's trying to achieve. I mean, he said it's less po-faced. I mean, I'm not really sure how. I mean, there's also there's all the stuff like the Holocaust stuff, the slavery, all of that. You know, he admitted that it failed on all those levels. I don't understand how he can have an emotional connection to a game that he has admitted is poorly written, has laughable parts in it that don't make any sense, and that also he completely ignored like story beats as well because they didn't fit in with his blinkered view of where the story was supposed to be going. And I don't know, it's as I said, it's not the worst game ever made, but it's not a good game. And I don't understand why Matt seems to feel so strongly that I went into it with an agenda, because the only agenda I had was...
That's it. Your minute is up.
The only
minute is up, James. Your minute's up.
I mean, James, that wasn't really
Matt, your minute was done. That was your closing
opinions.
Whoa. You're throwing punches after the bell, and you might get dock points for that. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to... I haven't told you this. There will be a poll on Twitter. You, the listener, will decide who won that argument. You have 20...
Well, I've lost. It doesn't matter. It's game over.
Whoa. Matt, this is not... I mean, what I want you to do, listeners, seriously, please, do not vote based on whether you like the game or not. Right? Let me make that clear. This is not what this poll is about. It's about who won this discussion. Right? Treat it like a debate class. Try and be as neutral on the opinions as possible. Take the points that James has made, the points Matt has made, who got one over on the other. Treat this like a boxing match, not... I can't think of another example. Don't. Just try and treat it on the argument, based on the argument, not what you think of David Cage or his game. Right? The tweet will go out, shall we say, Thursday evening, and we'll give them 2 days to vote? Or is that too soon? Should we do it Friday and then over the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll end on Monday, yeah.
The tweet will go out Friday, over the weekend. Please go to twitter.com and find that tweet and vote on it. I know who I'm voting for in that argument. I will not say who I'm going to vote for. I'm going to keep that to myself.
I know you're
Sean, I'm sure that you'll be voting in this. I'd appreciate it if you never announce who you voted for. Let's keep that to ourselves.
Like a real election.
At least until we need to bring that out, maybe at the end of the year show where we're trying to barter for votes. I think that might be a situation where we do that. But that's it. That's no more of that discussion. We're not going back to it. I mentioned halfway through that, so people that listen to that will know that there was a spoiler bot at the start of that discussion. So if you didn't want to hear that, welcome back to the show.
So did we even go into spoilers? I don't think we even touched on that particular thing, did we?
I'm just conscious of the people that don't want to hear a prolonged discussion about Detroit Become Human, to be honest with you, Matt. So I'm putting it there as a courtesy. If you're listening on Dash Radio, I'm sorry. There's no way of fast forwarding that, but that's fine. So yeah, are we all friends? How are we feeling about each other?
Yeah, of course. Just
can we move forward, James?
That was awful.
James is not going to be able to drop it. Matt is going to be...
I'm not. It's because it's impossible to argue with somebody that you can't even, won't even refute anything you're saying and just says, it's all my opinion. It's like, it's impossible.
No, but James, most of your argument was, I can't believe Matt said this, can't believe Matt said that. But
no, but then you didn't answer any of the points that I said.
That last minute was just, I can't believe Matt. Okay, whatever, let's move on.
I wanted to let that go. I just wanted to let that go. I should have jumped in and said, no, that's the end, but I wanted to let that go and see where it went. Right, okay. Should we get on to what other games we've been playing this week?
Jesus Christ, yes.
Please. Yes.
I mean, I'll go. I'll be quick. I've been playing a lot of Super Mario Odyssey. I don't know if you saw my tweet in the week, but my son deleted my save, in which I'd even mentioned it recently that I wanted to keep it as 100%, so I logged in every now and then to do a few balloon runs and buy the latest costume. I had 999 moons, and I woke up in the morning and Harry explained to me that he's now beating me at Super Mario Odyssey, and I said, how? He said, I've got 420 moons, and I said, yes, but I've got 999, and he laughed and said, no, you've got 0, because he deleted my save, and he saw my face and instantly changed from a grin to almost bursting into tears because he realised how angry I was. But now I've completed the storyline I'd completed it like Saturday midday, and it told me Friday morning that it's surprisingly easy to get to the end of the story in that game. You could do it in no time. And I've 100%ed 2 kingdoms now, so I'm ploughing through. I will get back up to 999. I'm scared of some of the later challenges, let me tell you. That 500 moon challenge, Matt, not even the hardest challenge in the game. There's much harder than that. And, I know I'm going to get frustrated later on down the line, but enjoying it. Still an incredible game. The main game I've been playing this week is Manual Samuel, which is a 2-year-old Steam game, that's been re-released on PlayStation, Xbox, and the Nintendo Switch. It came out last week, $9.99. It's a side-scrolling sort of action game, I guess. Side-scrolling adventure game is probably the right way to put it. It's very short. It's about 2 to 3 hours long. And the story is you control Samuel, who is a complete prick. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He treats everyone around him like pricks. He's never worked a day in his life because he comes from a rich family. And he gets hit by a car. He goes down to hell and he makes a deal with death, that he can go back and he will get his life back if he's able to survive for 24 hours, but doing everything manually. And what that means is that as you're playing the game, you've got to make every single step, with a button press. You've got to keep the character breathing by breathing in on one button and breathing out on another. You have to keep him blinking. And then there's all sorts of other, silly tasks you have to do throughout the whole game. I gotta say, it's far from a classic. There's a lot to turn people off here. I mean, I've seen, people chatting about this game have been saying that the controls get extremely frustrating. I can see why people would think that. I personally didn't have that feeling because I thought, well, that's part of the game. Like, what you're getting going into it. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to keep making him breathe in and out. That's the point of the game. Like that's what the game is. If you're going into this thinking, anything different, then quite frankly, you're an idiot. The humor that's used throughout, cause it is very, very, tries to pack it with humour, and I can see that turning a lot of people off because humour is very subjective anyway. It made me laugh quite a bit. There's an angle that I don't think it quite nails. It's got a narrator throughout the game, and that narrator is clearly trying to imitate the Stanley Parable narrator, and it doesn't have the same sort of punch. It doesn't have the same delivery that sort of style deserves. But there was this weird thing, and again, a lot of people will watch this and play this and think that this is ridiculous. But so the game is obsessed with the word feces, and I mean, like crowbarring that word in at almost every sentence. There's just, it starts off with death. Just keep falling over. He's trying to do a kickflip throughout the game. It's a running joke in the game. He's obsessed with skateboarding. He's trying to do a kickflip and he's never done it. It's a bit like Matt Murray, actually.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'd love to do a kickflip.
And he'll just go, oh, feces, every time he misses it. And I'm like, this is weird. Cause there's swearing in the game, but they don't say fuck, they say feces. And it got to the point in my head where I genuinely found it quite funny. And there's a scene in a boardroom where there's a businessman and he just, okay guys, we're in deep feces. And so then that sort of broke the rule that it was just a phrase that Def was saying all the time, and that actually this whole game is around this one word. and for some reason it made me laugh. It does some really cool. Basically, it splits up into different sections. So initially, it's just you're walking, and then you've got to wash yourself and go to the toilet and stuff like that. And that's all done with quick time events and stuff like that. And then you're in a car, and Def has switched your automatic car for a manual one. So you've got there's a button to put the clutch down, a button to move your hand from the steering wheel to the gear stick, put it into first gear, then lift the clutch up as you put in the accelerator down and all that sort of stuff. That's probably the game at its peak. When you're during that scene, the driving scene, that's probably where the mechanics work the best, because you're trying to do all that and then remember to blink and breathe. That's where you feel that actually this is a really neat idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of little scenarios that they put me in that's going to make me suddenly have to think about every button on the controller to keep Samuel alive. Unfortunately, it never really reaches that peak again. It's sort of the stuff that you're doing afterwards is either very clunky or just not as fun to do. But it reminded me, the overall feeling of the game reminded me of, do you remember there was a period, Sean, before indie games really got big, on, Xbox 360 and stuff like that? There was a period where you would get either a link to a game that was either a browser game or a download on someone's site that was a few quid.
Yeah.
And it would be things like Passage or, One Life. Was it called One Life? Where you just...
Oh, another one. Is it One Chance?
One Chance, yeah, where the world was ending and you had one chance to do what you do. And then once that was over, that was it. It was stuff like that where the initial idea was good. It wasn't fleshed out enough to become a full, proper game. So you would find these games, enjoy them, and put them away. And that definitely has this feeling, which is probably its biggest stumbling point, because if it was around £5 for this game, I could understand, but it's $9.99. Now, don't get me wrong, this game has more to it than those games did back then, because there's a time trial mode and, there's other options of play in this. So there is a scope to go back and try old segments again and all that sort of stuff. But the initial idea doesn't outstay its welcome. It's quite good to play through. It's the perfect sort of, I'm going on holiday game and I've got a few hours of game time while I'm on holiday. I might as well play something from start to finish and enjoy it. And that is perfect for this. But it doesn't go any further than that. So I think if you know going into this that it doesn't really expand on its initial premise and it doesn't really go anywhere that you wouldn't expect it to go. It doesn't take you by surprise in any major way after that driving scene. I think it's an enjoyable game. And I would say, if you're going away on a short trip, it's that sort of game where you want to play a game through in one sitting or, on a train trip or something. It's worth playing. Hard sell at $9.99. It is there's no getting around that. It's a hard sell at that price point. But I can't say I wouldn't write it off. And if you've got a Nintendo Switch, there's a trailer for it on the Switch store, I think. Or on the news feed, because Harry put it on this morning. And I got to say, it was so fucking funny, because all they've done is taken the original trailer from the Steam version and just put "for Switch" over it. Like when it just cuts in, shows a picture of the Switch, and says "for Switch." I was looking for the YouTube video so I could send it to you guys this morning, because I was genuinely belly laughing towards the end of it. I would say, if you're looking for something completely different to play, you're not expected to get frustrated with the basic premise of what this game is, and you don't want it to sort of expand into something, keep improving and trying completely new things throughout the game, then you'll enjoy it. And that's what holds it back from being a really, really good game, is because it doesn't actually go anywhere. But for what it is, it's well worth playing through. Funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a shame to turn it. It does look. I do like the art style.
Yeah, but the art style is very much like those old animated cartoons, where everything sort of moves. Like, the ones. I don't really know the the right way of saying it, but it's quite cartoony, but you can see that like limbs are on pins and they're sort of moving around. It, it looks that sort of style. And it pulls it off. I mean, it looks gorgeous throughout. Like I like the artwork and stuff. The voice acting sort of varies. Like some of it is quite good. Some of it is pretty bad. Deaf, borders on the offensive, but I mean, it was, I mean, I can't say anything else about it. I think, if you go into it knowing what the game's about, I think you'll actually come out enjoying it. Whereas if you go in thinking that it's something that it isn't, then I could see why you would get pissed off with this game. But worth a look. Definitely check out the trailer, and if you like the look of the trailer, then you'll probably like the game. I would say that.
I'll definitely check out trailer. Obviously, there's no demo. How long is the game again? Sorry, did you say? It was like super short?
3 hours. Yeah, it's very short. Okay. It's very short. I did it in no time. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. And that's out on Switch and Xbox and PS4. So check that shit out. The other game that I've been playing this week, I played a little bit of For Honor, which is probably the most. But I can't believe it was made, Sean. Like,
in what way?
It's this medieval battle game. Like, if you've not heard of it, I'm sure you have, but it's like this medieval battle game with this really complicated attacking and defending system, which works very well. It is very much rock, paper, scissors on the fly. So if you see someone going for your bottom right, then you block to the bottom right, and then, it's all about tricking the opponent into what to do. But the game modes I was playing was just weird. So the game mode that I played was essentially Control from Destiny. But you're these medieval guys, and then all of a sudden you're running into something, and they've got this sort of Victorian announcer that goes, was it Zone B has been taken? And I'm just going, this is bizarre, because you've got like it's as if they've taken this combat game and just gone, just make it like every first person shooter now. Forget about the game modes. Let's not do anything different with that. Which is fine, I guess. And I did quite enjoy it, even though it is, oddly slow pace. There is a really weird feeling, Sean, when you're in a zone, defending a zone, and you're seeing a man, like a sort of warrior or a knight or whatever, running towards you very slowly. And you've played this game mode a million times in a million first-person shooters, and you're like, I should be bringing up a crosshair now and just popping him in the head as he's running up. But instead you just stand there and wait for him to approach, and then you attack. Like, it's weird. It's just a weird feeling, because the game mode is so familiar, but the gameplay is so fresh and different to everything else you've ever played. That it's just this weird sort of, it fucks with your head a little bit. I'm going to have to play it a little bit more. It's currently free on Games with Gold.
I was hoping you were going to say you had it on PS4, because I've still got it lying around somewhere. No,
Games with Gold. So, I've been playing with my crew, who have been obsessed with it since it come out, to be fair. They still play it on the reg. So, a friend of mine has put in nearly 200 hours on it. Like, he's obsessed with it. So, I need to play it some more. I got a surprising amount of kills for my inexperience, which I don't know is a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe it's just full of people downloading it for that weekend, but we enjoyed it, and I'm going to go back to it later in the week.
I gather it's another one of those Ubisoft ones where bit of a shit launch, but they have stuck by it, and I gather it's totally very different now.
They really have stuck by it. And but to be fair, Sean, I've heard that it's not actually that different. Now, maybe apparently it just has still got an audience, and they're adding to it, but I don't think they've changed anything major to do with the game. They might have improved the online stuff, but it was running silky smooth for me. So really good. Yeah, I'm keen to get in a little bit more game time with that. Although that's going to be difficult now, because Shenmue is ready to go, and I'm thinking of starting my stream tomorrow night, which I know is going to annoy Matt, because that doesn't give us a lot of build-up time, but I think it's going to have to be those sort of streams. It'd be like James's streams, where he just goes, streaming tonight. Because
when you say tomorrow night, you mean last night?
Last night, as you're listening to this.
Yeah.
I mean Tuesday. So, because I'm just thinking it's launch day tomorrow for Shenmue. Comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
So it'd be good to just do it on day one
and
go from that.
Like Monday.
Oh, really? I thought the embargo lifted on Monday and then the game came out on Tuesday.
It does. It's last time I checked, it said it was ready to go in 5 hours, and that was about 3 hours ago. So I was actually going to say, can we finish early so I can get on it?
So it is launching tomorroar.
Yeah, so it's midnight tonight.
Yeah. So I was right. There was no need to challenge me there, James. But thank you for your input. What have you been playing, James?
Well, I've got three games that I want to the first one I want to briefly touch on because we've talked about it so much, and I don't want to just go over everything we've already been over, which was Hollow Knight. Because
I think you're going to say Detroit.
No, never want to talk about that game again. But no, it's I finished Hollow Knight while I was away, and I only got the bad ending, and I don't feel done with it at all. And I'm going to go back, but I needed a break because the last boss. I know Sean, you did it and had no trouble at all, and you did it like second time or something, right?
Although worth noting, it's not
the final boss.
Last boss. Yeah,
it's the boss you do if you want the rubbish ending, and then and it is a terrible ending that you get if you do that one. But when I first went to him, I was like really badly underpowered and everything. So I then spent another 10 hours exploring and upgrading my character before I tried it again. But I enjoyed that more than anything else. That was my favourite part of the game was that 10 hours, because by that point I had all the abilities and just going mopping up other areas. Really enjoyed that. It's fantastic, and I enjoyed the exploration. I don't know about you, Sean, but I enjoyed the exploration more than the fights. To be honest, more than the boss fights. I like finding new areas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just looking at the map and just being like, oh, there's an exit to a room that I've not been through yet.
Yeah.
And then, just sort of peeking through, and it's like, oh shit, this area is twice the size I thought it was. And that remains really enjoyable. Shall I briefly talk about where I'm up to with it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I did that last boss, and I was like, right, when I get the other two endings, I chose not to give myself a break, and I am regretting it because fuck me, the stuff that you have to do after the first ending is absolutely insane. There's this whole section where, obviously it's a 2D platformer, and there are bits of the game where there's sort of these quite, there's some tricky little platforming bits, and then basically, you get to this one section where it's it's Super Meat Boy for about an hour, and it is fucking excruciating. Not only because, so it's unbelievably difficult, but every time you hit an obstacle and it hurts you, you lose a bit of health. There's no way of recharging your health for, really long stints. So, you've got to be, really on it for a long time. Sorry, a massive spider just dropped down next to me and I'm shitting it.
Oh, fuck that.
I think I'm all right. I think he's just fucked off somewhere. So you and there's really fucking nasty sections where it's so say there'll be a segment where there's 3 sections to it, and when you get to the end of the second bit, you unlock a shortcut, but that shortcut only helps you once you've done the first bit. So you can do the first 2 sections, unlock the shortcut, and then if you die, you've still got to redo the first bit before you can jump to the third bit, and it's just for fuck's sake, if you're going to let me unlock a shortcut, let me unlock it from the start to the bit I'm up to, if that makes sense. It just reminds me what a good game Celeste is, where it's it's hard, but there's no live system, just fucking every time you get hit, you just straight back to the start, have another go. There's, upbeat music, and it's fine. Just keep trying, you will get it eventually. Whereas this just felt mean. It just feels really nasty and I don't know. Anyway,
has that somewhat tainted your experience up to now, or you can push through it?
It has soured it a little bit. I mean, I've done it. I've done that bit, and then so now I'm on the actual final boss, which is also a complete fucker. So now I am I'm at 94% completion, but there's a few items and a few charms and stuff I've still not got. So I think I'm now going to slow down. There's new DLC coming out in, I think, a couple of weeks. So I might just stop playing it, let the new DLC come out, and then just sort of come back to it somewhat fresh-faced and do the DLC and just enjoy that, and then try again with the final boss. But it's fucking hell. it's one of those things like where it's like, if I just got the first ending and just went, right, that's it, I'm not going to do the extra stuff, because that's what I did with Celeste. I never did the core and stuff. I was like, do you know what? I enjoyed that ending. I think playing any more is going to stress me out. I'm just going to stop. And that felt legitimate. Whereas
I love Celeste, and I also didn't go to like the chapter 8 or basically the one after the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I gather it's very good, and one day I might go back. But at the time, I was like, you know what, I'm happy with that. Whereas this was really like, no, I want to keep going. I want to fucking do this properly. And I regret just carrying on like that. I think James's approach is probably the way to go.
The only thing I'm worried about with that is that if I go back later, the skills that I had will be like not that great anymore.
Diminished.
And then then it would be like take a while to get back into the groove again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that was really shit about the tough platforming bit I was talking about is that like it feels like it's suddenly asking you for loads of skills that you just haven't developed all that much. Like if it was like, you know, like a difficult boss fight at the end, fine, I get that. Like, games had boss fights all the way through it and loads of fighting and stuff. And yeah, there are sort of bits of platforming. But there are some screens on it where I was just staring at it like, I haven't got a fucking clue how this is meant to be even possible. And it just feels so above and beyond what the rest of the game does. That it just felt a bit nasty, I thought.
Sounds like a shame, man. It sounds like it's let itself down a bit.
It is a bit. And never mind the fact that later on, after I'd done it, there's like videos on YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, there's loads of skips just built in, but they're just like bits of wall you can just hit, and it unlocks like a secret passage and stuff. But you would never know, like unless you'd either just spent ages hitting all the walls or watched a YouTube video.
Also, you don't want to use that because it would still be on replay, wouldn't it?
It's part of the
exactly. Still feel like cheating. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I could just watch the ending on YouTube now. Literally, all I've got to do is this final boss. But to have put in so much effort and then I don't know. You can't. I would feel like I've cheated myself.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a legitimate
that's
person.
A shame. Yeah, wow. Still on my plate. Sorry, James. Go on.
So yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm quite happy at the moment to have just left it for a bit, and I mean, I still have very, very like positive feelings about it. And if it could be, it'd be my game of the year. But yeah, it can't obviously because it came out last year. But the other game.
Well, got an email about that, but we'll get to that.
The other game that I played this year, though, like this week, like I have completely horrible feelings about, and I'm going to talk about this now. You see, this is a game that I'd had my eye on for a while, like on the eShop. Mostly, I'd admit, because of character art. And I was hoping it was going to be like Detention, you know, the one that I talked about before by like Red Candle Games. And this is by a South Korean developer that's called Devspresso, and it's called the Coma Recut. And it's a 2D horror game, like, again, similar to Detention, you could say, set in a high school at the end of a term during final exams. But that's kind of where I feel the similarities, like, begin and end, because it's a completely different style of game, because it's much more sort of like jump scares, horror, that kind of thing. And the way that the game works is that during an exam, the player falls asleep and you wake in this like alternative version of the school, and he's chased by his homeroom teacher who's been this like, who's become like a psychotic killer. What's really irritating about this is that your character has no offensive weapons. There's no way that you can like fight back at all. The only thing you can do is hide. You just have to like find lockers and stuff to hide in. And she appears like seemingly at random, and you just have to like run and hide and avoid until she like goes away. The reason I was interested in this is because from the screenshots, I was expecting like more story, like more dialogue options and that kind of thing. And there was going to be like a sort of a mystery to uncover. And it's true that there are notes that you pick up and the conversations that you can have so that you can kind of piece together the story. But the gameplay experience is so horrible because I found the controls are completely unresponsive on the Switch, that I just frequently died like all the time. Like there'll be this sudden shriek, and then she appears like running onto the screen, and then all you can do is you can run or you can like roll or whatever. But roll often doesn't work, so you end up just sort of like either standing there and then she just hacks you to pieces, or if you're trying to get into a locker, like you're hammering A to like try and get in there and nothing happens, and then she just like slaughters you, or you get into the locker and then for some reason you get out again and then she still kills you or whatever. And it's just, it's not scary. It's just really irritating, like really, really irritating. But for some reason, I still felt the need to finish it, and I did, but with the bad ending. And unlike like with Hollow Knight, I've got no intention of going back to this. I was so happy when I'd finished it and I don't even know why I finished it. It's completely pointless because it was just such a terrible game that, you know, such a terrible experience I felt. And that I don't know why I continued. I don't know why I did it. I've got a problem with this. I find it really difficult to give up on stuff. And for some reason, I just felt the need to keep going. And I mean, the thing about the game is, I mean, I've been doing some reading about it, and like people are saying, oh, you know, it's a commentary on how bad the pressure is for those going through high school and career and all this sort of thing. So it's like trying to emphasise, you know, the stress and everything you go through. But it's got none of like the subtlety or like intrigue that you got from like Detention. And I don't know, I didn't find it enjoyable at all. I wasted 2 hours of my life on this game, and I feel bad that I did. It's not a good game. It's pretty terrible. Yeah.
Damn. Oh dear. Well, at least it was only 2 hours. Jesus.
Yeah, but it's just the controls. That was the worst thing. Maybe it plays better.
Imagine if James is like that about every game. Like, let's say a 200-hour RPG. I hated every second of it, but I just had to fucking finish it.
I get like that with some stuff. I don't know why. It's a problem.
David Cage games, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I had to still push my way through all of that. It's, mind you, you're going to do the same thing with Shenmue 1 and 2.
Yeah,
so,
God, yeah, I'm going to have to force myself through that shite. No, I'm joking. I'm genuinely going to go into it trying to get into the story and everything. I will totally give it a chance. I promise you. I promise you that.
Okay. The other
You'll
game...
see on the stream. Go on.
I won't, but anyway.
You will.
I'll get tweets from people anyway, so that's fine. It's definitely that's going to happen.
Who's going to be the first one to tweet you about it, do you reckon?
I don't know. I've no idea.
Affine. Should be all over it. Tweeting you daily. David did this today. Yeah, can't wait. Tomorrow. Go on.
So the last game I played, which I played last night, was it's the episode 1 of the final season of The Walking Dead.
Oh man,
the
awesome.
Telltale one that's come out, because it's only the other episodes. Wasn't there like more than 4 episodes before? I seem to remember the first one had 5 episodes. No?
Yeah, I think it's 5.
Well, this one's only got 4, and
also they've actually released a schedule, haven't they, for the first time ever?
Yeah,
it's like, why weren't they doing this in earlier seasons? That's why people were dropping off them.
Because if you remember correctly, the season 1 they were it was getting delayed like constantly. They would say, oh, it's coming out at the end of such and such, and then it would keep getting delayed.
And they've got a schedule now, so that's good.
Yeah, it's going to be finished. I think it's December will be the final episode will come out, and then apparently they're done with this, which is probably not a bad thing, although I did enjoy this. Like, I mean, I finished the first episode last night, and I mean, the first thing that is really obvious is that to me, it looks like they've fixed like the game engine problems, because although it doesn't look amazing, it's still significantly more stable now. And they've changed the camera angle so that it's like over like Clementine's shoulder for like whenever you're like moving around. So the navigation now is a lot more sort of consistent. I wouldn't say it feels like Resident Evil 4 or whatever, but it's easier to sort of see where you're going and what there is to pick up, rather than before how you'd like go into
fixed
areas.
Angles?
Say again?
Wasn't it fixed angles, fixed cameras?
Yeah, and so that was always a bit irritating because you were never really sure if you were like, scanning everything and everything. But with it how it is now, it's a lot better.
Wow, so they fundamentally changed it for the last series.
Yeah,
okay.
And I mean, what's also interesting is that it seems like this season is trying to sort of mirror the first season, because I mean, you guys haven't played. Have you played seasons 2 and 3? I can't remember.
I think Matt played season 2.
I started season 3. I think I'm like 2 or 3 episodes in, and I stopped.
Yeah, so I got halfway through season 2 and stopped.
As well, so I'm not. I should just crack on with them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's good and bad like in all of those, but I mean, because basically it's it's the story of like Clementine growing up, obviously, and like getting older, and now she's kind of taken on. They're kind of mirroring the first season, because Clementine is now acting in the same role that Lee kind of was in the first series, in that she's protecting a younger child. But what's interesting about that is that the child that she's bringing up was born after the disaster. so his reaction to like the world and what she's trying to teach him is quite different to how she was with Lee. And obviously it's got the whole thing like where she's trying to teach him things that are important, but he doesn't really understand why they are. Like things like manners, respect for life and stuff like that. She's sort of trying to teach him, but he's like, why? It doesn't really matter. Why is it not okay to kill people and things, things like that. And but also the game, the first episode anyway focuses like almost entirely on children and how they're trying to sort of figure out how to live without any adults around. And because that's been one of the main themes of like series 2 and 3 is there's always been this sort of like corrosive effect that you get from adults making like poor decisions or selfish decisions and stuff like that, and whereas the children are looking at this from a different perspective because they've grown up with it. And so for that reason it does feel fresher to me. I feel a lot happier playing this than I did.
It sounds like an interesting angle to take.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the fact that she's teaching him the things that maybe she was taught because she knows the world how it was, and yet the kid she's looking after that has no care for that.
But this, and it does, as I said, it feels a lot fresher because I felt like the last season, like New Frontier, I really felt kind of it was really played out by that point. And with this, like the shocking choices, inverted commas, that you always get with these games, like they still feel a bit played out with this. But with this, like the end of the first episode of this, it's got one of the best final scenes like in any of the episodes, I think, like of any of the series so far. It's really good, like the ending to it, and I'm really keen to see how it pans out. And it's, what you're getting with these games, but this is the first time that I felt that they are sort of going in a slightly different direction, and it is becoming more interesting again to me because they're looking at it in a different way. It's I'm looking forward to episode 2 anyway.
Yeah, I love the first series. Series 2 I enjoyed, and by the third I was just bored, I guess, at that point. But part of me, there is unfinished business. I do want to see how the story ends. Yeah, so there's 5 episodes, was there, in series 3?
I think so. No, probably. I think series 3 was 4. I can't remember. They had all those other ones.
I can't even remember there being series 3. I remember the McConey stuff, but that was it. Or Michonne.
Michonne, yeah. They did like the Michonne miniseries.
McConey.
Yeah, they did that, and they did a bunch of like mini, like tiny episode ones that were kind of linked to this. There was the 400 Days as well that was like linked with series 2.
That's right, yeah.
And and then the New Frontier was the last one, which it was set up well, but I felt very sort of unsatisfied by the end. It was I really didn't like the way, like the kind of character like Clementine had become in that game, whereas this how she is now feels much more like a real evolution of what she was in like series 2 and series 1.
So do you feel like there's a need to play those sort of in between series mini game things? Is it really just a backstory, but it doesn't really affect?
If you've played the first series, you could probably jump in here actually, because you'd know like most of the callbacks that there are related to the first series rather than like the other 2 series that there's been in between. I think you probably could jump in here and it'll be fine. Right. But yeah, it's good. It really is good. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to it. It's
cool. All right, you done?
Yep, that's me.
Matt.
Yeah, so I've been playing one game this week. I'm playing Guacamelee 2. Did any of you guys play the first one?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, first one was amazing. I played it on Vita when I think basically whenever it came to PS Plus. But the first game came out in 2013, and now the second one's out. So this is the first time that we got review code, and actually got given like 2 weeks early. And so for the first time in a long time, I actually had to play a game where I couldn't look up a guide. And it was quite scary because this game is quite tough. So if you don't know anything about the game, it's a sequel to the first one. It's a Metroidvania style game, but it's almost like a 2D fighter. It's like a platformer as well. A lot of the fighting moves you use also you also use them to sort of navigate the environment. You might use like a huge uppercut to get above and over platforms and whatnot. You still play this guy called Juan, who's like a luchador, and there's like it's actually a really similar story to the first one, but anyway, basically you need to navigate the environment, and you also need to go between realms as you did with the first one to ultimately defeat the bad guy. Now. So I played the first one in like 2014 or whenever it came out on PS Plus. It's a long, long time ago. But as I've been like playing this, I've been trying to look at how the old game was, because at first I thought it doesn't really feel that different. It's even a lot of the locations are the same because you're still in that same sort of environment. But what it does do differently is that it had, like, graphically, I think it looks a lot better. It's the same style, sure, but like lighting wise, it looks fantastic. I think, and it looks like even the first one was absolutely gorgeous, like really, really vibrant colours. But they've done something subtle. I'm not quite sure what it is, but officially it's got a new rendering engine. And although on first glance, it might just look like another gorgeously brightly coloured game and quite similar to the first one, I think what I've done with like smoke and other different like particle effects, I think it looks fantastic. Even though you might not think it's like a drastic difference from the first one. The upgrade system's a bit different this time. The last time you just gained new power-ups. Now there's like trainers dotted around the environment, and each of those trainers, they have like a set of skills which you can buy, and you get coins by defeating enemies and defeating bosses and whatnot. Obviously recently I played Celeste, and this game, it reminded me a lot of Celeste in terms of it does have some really, really hard platform, and the platforming ultimately doesn't get quite as hard as Celeste, but it does also have some platforming elements which are almost identical to Celeste. Like there's parts of Celeste towards the end where you basically you can hit these like little like green gems in the air, and those give you another jump, and this has that as well. So
okay.
There are also bits just like Celeste where also I've been navigating tons of the environment without hitting a single platform, because I've been training jumps together, doing double jumps, and doing a special move, then hitting these elements in the air, so I can like chain them. So it has a lot of those elements. It, like I say, doesn't quite get as hard as Celeste, which is good. And I never really became stuck, and that's the thing I was crapping myself about most, because I thought there's no guides, I can't just look on YouTube for this. And there's one boss near the end. It wasn't the final boss. There's one boss, like 2 or 3 bosses before the end, and I was like, God, this is suddenly really, really ramped up in difficulty. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I stuck through it, and I wasn't stuck for like more than like half an hour, really, if that. But it's quite a unique experience to have to play this without any guides around to save me, which is often usually the case.
Someone just collapsed.
Yeah, that was me kicking something by accident. Yeah.
It's just the rage is finally sleep.
Thinking about the discussion
and just
But basically, this has got the same amazing humour from the first one. It definitely knows itself. There's even like references to the first game. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there was certainly some particular bit of feedback about the first game, and this is referenced in the second one. It's got great humour. It's got the writing's great. The music is really fantastic. I've still got the music now in my head.
Is it as good as the first?
I say the first one I played on Vita, and so like control wise, it never felt as strong, and it doesn't feel as strong as it does now. But in terms of actually comparing it, I love the first one so much. This feels like more the same. So in many ways, it feels like less of a surprise, but it's definitely a more refined game.
How does it deal with the issue of dropping? Like, obviously, you've got to drop down to no power ups that you'd built up for the first game. How does it deal with that?
Yeah, So this is basically like many years in the future. So in the first one, Juan was like a farmer. He started off as a farmer. He got like the luchador mask, and he sort of gained his powers from there. Now he's like he's a retired luchador. And then basically some crazy portals open, and he's ready to have dinner with his family, but he gets sucked into the portals, and it just all starts from there. But because there's these new trainers dotted around the environment, I guess that's what explain it there. He's basically meeting new people and regaining the skills, because he's like an older guy now. He's retired. He's sort of lost very
similar skills to what you.
Yeah. I mean, almost all of the moves are from the first one. So it's still got like the frog slam. It's still got the rooster uppercut. A lot. It's still got. Obviously, it's got tons of traversal where you change into a chicken. Yeah, you're either Juan the Luchador, or you might have to go into chicken mode or rooster mode, whatever it's called, to navigate through tiny little spaces. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's loads of these trainers around. You get those different skills, but it does feel very, very similar to the first one. But having said that, the first one was fantastic, and if you played the first one and liked it, you'll absolutely love this.
Does it do enough to justify the sequel?
Oh yeah, I think definitely, yeah. Because the first one for me, it just came from nowhere, and I absolutely loved it. It was, I seem to remember the other one being harder, but who knows? It's such a long time ago now. But yeah, I mean, I played it on PS4, and it's much better to play it on the pad than it ever was on Vita. But yeah, it's got same humour, same gorgeous graphics. Better graphics of anything, same amazing music. If you love the first one, I'll definitely recommend this. If you haven't played this game before, or haven't played the first one before, this feels like a great one to jump into. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And that's all we're playing this week, because I had to make sure I got that finished before today.
I forgot to mention, have you started Overcooked 2 yet?
I got it downloaded, played a little tiny bit, because it's like on the coach on the weekend, but no, I'm playing properly.
I played that for a little bit over the weekend with Joe and Harry, and it was fucking hilarious. We need to do a stream on that.
Yeah, because I also started playing Yoku's Island, because I've got a code for that, but I had to make sure this was
okay.
Yeah, so
I
got like
hold that off.
Yes, what's that? Sorry,
I was going to say hold it, but what were you going to say?
Oh no, I've barely touched this, so I'm going to talk about it more next week. But it's just the fact that I got this 2 weeks earlier. I thought, this is amazing. I can like take my time. And then last week was Detroit, and then this week I've been like away on the weekend, so I had to like crush this over like a few days. It took me like 12 hours in the end, which, I mean, I was looking for like how long the first one took, and like how long to beat was often around 10 hours. I think it took me way longer, but yeah, this is a good 12 hours, and I highly recommend it.
Cool. All right, Sean.
Just a couple of short ones, because I've already ranted about Hollow Knight. So last week I mentioned buying NeoAtlas 1469 in the sale. For those who missed it, this is this weird game where you're in Europe in the 1400s, and the rest of the world hasn't been discovered yet, and you're sending out ships on little voyages to discover the rest of the world and then report back. And there's also like quite a rudimentary sort of, like, you're running like a trading company. So you're sort of discovering towns, and they've all got resources, and then you're figuring out like trading routes and stuff. And yeah, like the trailer sort of sells it on the fact that, like, you know, you send these voyages out, and as well as just discovering like what the terrain looks like, they occasionally come back reporting like really weird, stupid stuff, like sea monsters or finding the edge of the world, because it turns out the world's flat. But you can choose whether or not to believe them, and if you believe them, then whatever they said is true and becomes like a permanent part of the game world, and if you don't, then it just disappears, and you can explore that area again and potentially find something different. My worry is that, as interesting as that sounds, like, I wasn't sure how fun it was actually going to be to play, and those fears were well founded. It is unfortunately a bit boring a lot of the time. Like, occasionally you'll find odd things. But a lot of it is like you just have to send a ship out in a direction, and then they go in a direction, and then they come back and they go, we went this far and then we found land and then we came back. And there'll just be like a bit of land. So then you're like, right, okay, so now I've got to send another ship out and sort of go in that area but in a slightly different way. And then, oh, they've found like the bit of land next to the bit of land that I already found. And it gets a bit tedious, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. It is still like just about quirky and weird enough to sort of get away with it. Like, there is still this like, but if I send them out again, I might find something weird. But there's really not a lot of weird stuff to find. It is mostly just like, I found a bit more terrain, and here's a town that has got salt, and you can trade that if you want. So yeah, they're kind of a shame, but I mean, it was one of those games where I don't think hardly anyone's even reviewed it, and I wasn't going to, because it looked like one of those things that like maybe most people wouldn't like it, but I thought I would get it. But it's just not that good, unfortunately.
That's a blow.
Yeah. On the up, we also got Jackbox Party Pack 4, which was in this Switch summer sale. I think it was about a tenner. I went to my brother's over the weekend and had a go on that. And it's always so weird how every Jackbox Party Pack is worth having, but the games are always about 50-50, aren't they? Like, there's usually a couple of like some that are amazing, and then a couple of complete shiters. Like, you can't even believe that they thought it was worth including it. So Fibbage 3 is on there. Fibbage is still very good. I'm quite happy with more Fibbage. There was one called Civic Doodle, which is like, the idea is that you're going around this town, and like each round is like, so someone's like spray painted this on a wall, and it'll just be like a really basic, like a little triangle or something. So then two people have to like draw more stuff on it, and then everyone else votes on who did the best drawing, and then basically you keep doing rounds like that.
So
and, yeah, and you just keep adding stuff basically. Like sometimes it sort of guides you a bit, but sometimes it doesn't, and it's just it's good. That is pretty good fun. And then in the end, it like gives you a shot of like, you know, like whatever you've painted is actually like sort of convincingly like photoshopped onto an image of the town somewhere, and that's pretty funny. But then there's one called like Monster Seeking Monster, which is like, it's like a dating app, but you're all monsters, and like you have to like each round you have to, like, you can message the other people in the game, but everyone's secretly a monster, which, and like the kind of monster they are gives them like a secret ability, and it's all about like amassing hearts from other people. Like, so at the end of every round, you talk to each other, and then you decide who to date, and if two of you agree to date each other, you both get like a heart, and then the person with the most hearts at the end wins. But say, you know, like I was a leprechaun, which meant that every time I dated someone, I gave them bonus hearts, but actually they were fake. And at the end of the game, it would be revealed that those hearts were fake and didn't count, and it would readjust the scoreboard.
That game feels like quite a long one, or was that?
Yeah, well, we didn't even get to the end of it because it was rubbish. Because because it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, message other people and try and get them to date you, but there's no prompting beyond that. So I'm sat in a room with my wife, my brother, and his wife, and I'm just like, what? So am I meant to message my sister-in-law being like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? It's weird.
Yeah, what are you supposed to say?
Yeah, so I just messaged my brother saying, like, do you fancy a shag?
You thought James's situation was awkward on holiday. You know, that takes it to the next level.
Like, if it was like, there was just like some pre-made messages, so you could just be like, oh, well, yeah, that's obviously just stupid and funny, I'll just send that.
And there's no like characteristics of each monster you can comment on saying...
No, yeah, because you don't know what monster everyone else is, you're just like normal people, and it's revealed at the end what monster you are. And like if two people, like, okay, so every round it'll pick like two people and it'll like show their conversation that they had, which is quite funny. But then equally there were rounds where I'd had a funny conversation with someone, but then I just wasn't picked for that round, so no one got to see it, and you're just like, well, that sort of feels like a bit of a waste. So yeah, it doesn't really work. But there's also one called Survive the Internet, where literally every round is just like, basically you all write like a comment. So it'll, you know, there'll be like, it'll give you an example where it'll say like, oh yeah, write a comment on a story, like a news story entitled this, and you write something, and then someone else gets that comment, and they're like, write a new headline to go with the comment.
Oh, okay, this sounds great.
So yeah, so you can write something that totally trips someone up and makes them look like horrifically racist or whatever. And that works really well. It took us a couple of rounds to get our head around how it worked, but that was pretty fun. So yeah, it's just another weird one where it's like literally half the games you're just like, why have they even put this on? I don't.
So obviously there's a fourth one, and yeah, as you said, like some are great, some are bad, but
yeah,
it almost feels like. And so if you own all four, you can't sort of create your own pack, can you? You can't like. It almost feels like you wanted to download Jackbox Party Pack, and then you pick and choose the ones from all four packs.
Do you know, I'm sure that like on Steam they did let you buy them individually.
Yeah, and then you've got your own party pack just full of games you want, and
I'm pretty sure they did on PS4 as well.
Okay,
right, okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm. Yeah, I could be wrong, actually.
I don't think they have on Switch. Because, again, which makes you wonder if they're just like, look, half these games aren't any good, but if we just stick them in a pack...
Yeah, but people are going to buy them because they know previously they've got two games out of it.
Exactly, yeah. So as long as you go in knowing that you're paying a tenner for probably two good games and then maybe some okay ones and some shit ones...
Yeah.
But it shouldn't really be like that, should it? Like, say, this is the fourth one they've done. You would think they would be getting some real consistency now.
Well, yeah, but... I mean, games have done that for a while. That's not unique to that, is it?
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, like obviously, like EGX, definitely looking forward to playing this with you guys. So,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
All right,
that's all of us.
Now we're running really, really late this week for obvious reasons. What do you want to do? Should we just do a few questions and try and carry a few over?
Yeah.
Well, should we do tweets, or I mean, you have some great emails we should cover now and aren't time sensitive.
There are some pretty good emails. Let me hang on. Let's do I'll just do one email and then a couple of tweets. Then we'll close it. Okay. All right, Johnny Bull. He says, "Hi guys, love the show, etc., etc. My friends and I tried out GTA Online a while back and all bounced off it incredibly hard due to getting immediately destroyed by every 12-year-old that spends all his pocket money on flying cars with homing missiles. We all loved the idea of it, but just couldn't see the attraction of the public stuff once we'd loaded in and we were getting constantly spawn killed. The game design appears to revolve around spending actual real-world cash to get really powerful weapons and then just griefing everybody you can. It's actively encouraged in some of the DLC and just pushes casual players like us away from it. I recently decided to give it a go again and accidentally discovered that there are ways of getting public lobbies where just you and your mates can play for hours without anybody else loading in. It means we can do all the stuff that's normally locked off in private lobbies without getting instantly smashed to pieces every time we try and do something entertaining. We're having hours of fun just doing all the PvE stuff as a team without interference. It's really odd and we're pretty sure it's a glitch, but we don't really care as it's giving us the game we wanted all along. It almost reminds me of when my brother and I used to find strange physics bugs in the older GTA games and would compete with each other, passing the pad back and forth trying to see who could get the weirdest results. We'd do such things as ram a car into a swing set and wait for the physics to bug out and fire our cars across the map.
I remember that swing set specifically. Yeah, that was a great.
We spent an evening doing that, didn't we? On GTA?
I was doing that. That was great.
It's not what they designed, but it's great fun. So my question is this. Do you guys have a game that you just did not get on with until you discovered an unintended way of playing it that actually made it fun for you? Thanks, Johnny Bull.
Well, I suppose the big example of it, I'm pretty sure I've said this before, was Midtown Madness on the original Xbox. Was it Midtown Madness 3?
Yeah.
James, do you remember this period?
I do, yeah. I remember.
Well, we were all playing this, but none of us were playing the in-game modes. We would literally just go in on free mode and trying to find as many glitches as possible, because those ones, the good thing about those glitches is that they required real skill to pull off. Like in GTA 4, it was just, let's go to the swing and sort of see when it fires us up into the air. This one was like, no, you have to make sure that you hit this ramp at the correct speed, at the correct angle, and you will fly through that window of the building and start driving around outside. So 6 of us would all be trying to do that until we all got through. I don't know why. I don't know what the goal was. But there was that, and also, of course, Crackdown. Like, the stuff we were doing Crackdown, it was just like a massive sandbox that we'd fuck around in and try new stuff. It was great during that time as well. So, yeah, they're the 2 examples that spring to mind for me. Sean?
For Midnight Madness,
I mean, GTA Online
PC.
I was going to say GTA Online was definitely a massive one, because we used to come up, like in Grand Theft Auto 4, playing that online, we used to just spend ages just doing things like, how many police cars can we fit into this nightclub, and like doing this one thing where you could climb up the ladders onto the billboards above the road. So you get one person to climb up and then jump off, and then they would obviously they would land on the floor and die. And then people would take it in turns climbing up and then trying to jump and land directly on their body. Just don't know. That seemed really funny.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? I remember the first time in Crackdown where we realised that cars didn't slow down for the satellite dishes if we chucked them on the road, and it would just they would just drive onto them and fling into the air really high, and it was just we just did that for 3 hours.
Yeah. Also, playing Red Dead Redemption Online, playing Kick the Cougar. Have I bored you guys with this before?
Several times.
Yeah, can we do it again?
I'm not joking. We do it several times. I mean, fair enough, but we've spoken so much bollocks. How you can't keep track of it, but yeah. Yeah, Kick the Cougar, where you would just kick a cougar and run into they couldn't get in the hut or something.
It was, for whatever reason, the cougar, if you tried to shoot it, it would just sprint at you and destroy you. But if you ran at it and tried to kick it, the AI just didn't work. So basically you'd have these games where we'd all be in a hut and then we'd run out and you'd have to kick the cougar and then run back into the hut without getting attacked. It's good.
Matt, you got any examples?
I mean, I played Midtown Madness on the PC when that came out a million years ago, and I had one of those force feedback steering wheels, and me and my sister used to just use that just to practice, do parking and all sorts of stuff, and keep swapping around, driving around town. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I don't know how old it was, but it was...
Shit. There was a game that my brother and I used to play. It might have been Midtown Madness as well, actually, where we would give each other driving lessons and would do driving tests and stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask sister basically swap it, and I was saying, we pull over in that lay-by, and then we'll basically pretend to be regular traffic, and abide by all the rules and traffic lights, and yeah, it's great. We just loved doing that, but But I also love the game, so it wasn't a game I hated, but that's certainly another way we played it.
All right. Sure, James?
The only thing I can think of is Crackdown and the stuff that we got up to in that. It was
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was just full of endless ideas where we'd log in one day and then just fuck around, and it would be, really late in the night because we'd just got addicted to, as I say, chucking satellite dishes on the motorway. It's good times. All right, cool.
Yeah, I won't do any more emails. I'm not even going to give people the email address because we'll do the rest next week, so it's fine.
If you've emailed in, we were genuinely saying before we started the show that we've had some excellent emails this week. We will get to them next week, I promise. Yeah,
totally. Tweets, just do a couple of those. Adam Way, what is your takeaway of choice? And if any is left, do you eat it hot or cold the next day?
Oof. My takeaway of choice of all takeaways is Pizza Go-Go. And then the next day, I will microwave a little bit of that pizza and eat it again.
Yeah, you've got to reheat it.
Yeah, I don't get cold pizza, people.
Please, you got to reheat it.
Please, you got to reheat it.
Please.
Please. I don't get cold pizza, people. People say, I prefer it cold. Do you know what? Fair enough, mate. If you like it like that, I can't do that. The moment that cold, pizza sauce hits the top of my mouth, I want to vomit.
It's the cheese going hard that throws me off.
Yeah, that's no good either.
Can't
just
be doing
weird.
with that. My takeaway choice is Chinese, absolutely, which is a shame because my wife is not keen. So
I'm not a big fan of Chinese. I much prefer curry.
Mate.
Much prefer curry.
Mine's Domino's if I do it. I must have ordered
it's so shit. Domino's is
no, but I must have ordered 5-6 times of Just Eat, and every single time it's been a massive fuck up, and we've had to cancel it, or they've been 2 hours. I haven't had one good Just Eat experience. I mean, I've ordered from Deliveroo. That's a little bit different, but those are regular food places.
See, I'm too out in the sticks for Deliveroo.
Oh man,
Uber Eats annoys me as well because whenever we go to get McDonald's with Harry, once a month sort of treat, we go in there, it's just full of people on mopeds. You know what I mean? It's just, for fuck. And their numbers are different when you order in McDonald's as well. It's number 56, yeah, please. Number 2XD136K. And then the guy with a fucking helmet walks up. It's just I don't like this for some reason. James?
Curry and cold the next day is fine.
What are you having a laugh?
No, I'm not joking. I love cold food. I just love it.
What curry? I love cold food. Yeah. What curry are you going for there, James?
I like Dansak is good.
I knew you were a Dansak boy. Yeah. Jalfrezi or I don't mind a Balti. It's underrated, the Balti. But yeah, no, mate, Jalfrezi, man, that's where it's at.
So I'm impossibly shit with anything spicy. Literally, if you put pepper on something, my nose will run. Yeah,
I suppose if you're that bad, it's bad. But then, a Balti is not that spicy at all, really. It depends. I mean, sometimes you order a Balti in a curry house, and it's you're just taking a piss with this. So it's hit and miss. But have you not had a tikka masala? No. It's not your game.
I'm sure I have at some point.
That's basically chicken with tomato ketchup on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can get through it. I just, Coma's fine by me.
Yeah, I'm not down with Coma. Too much coconut. Yeah, okay, next.
Hey, it's great. It's basically dessert.
It's basically a chicken bounty. No, I'm not down with that.
Right, last one. Shawnee Boy says, question for Matt. You can only choose one of the following. Either you get verified on Twitter or Phil Spencer wears a TCGS t-shirt at the next E3 conference.
James, Matt, before you answer, I'm pretty sure this might be the easiest either or.
Yeah.
Because, come on.
It's a shame, really.
Go on then.
Yeah, it's definitely a t-shirt, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's got to be the t-shirt.
Imagine
but then,
that.
verified on Twitter, that's a very different question 2-3 years ago.
Exactly, yeah. It was
really hard
I massively wanted to get one now. I care way less about Twitter these days.
So we got a couple of spare t-shirts.
Should just send him one.
Should we send him one?
Yes, one to him, one to Reggie, and one to Sean Layden.
With a note in it saying
don't listen to this episode.
No, we have sent.
Someone's taken a cage.
We've sent one t-shirt to you, one t-shirt to Reggie, one t-shirt to Tretton. First one to post a picture with you wearing it gets out. We will definitely back you in the next
The next console war.
And by then, think about it, by then, we will literally be the biggest gaming media outlet in the world. So you want us on side.
Yeah.
No, seriously, because he's the only one that would actually wear it. Should we send him one? And just say, hey, we know you like gaming t-shirts. Here's his t-shirt with my podcast on it.
We could do.
You better
we
do
need
it
to find
quick
a dress to
because,
send it to.
you know, what's it called? Kane and Rince will probably be listening
Yeah,
to
they're
this right
listening,
now. They've already done it.
We should cut this bit then.
Yeah, because they got Patreon as well. They'll be able to send it like they'll FedEx it. We're like fucking Royal Mail. Okay, that's it. This week we're done.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you didn't skip past one of the greatest arguments ever to happen in podcasting, but
or one of the worst.
I know some. I loved it. I loved it. Sean, what did you think?
I was just sitting here biting my tongue throughout.
It was an incredibly frustrating experience
because I was interrupting too much. You were quite right to call me out on that because I would have just kept doing it.
Matt, social media.
No, I mean all links to our social media is in the show notes. I guess the only thing to mention is we're doing a live podcast at EGX on the 22nd of September. Get your tickets now. And we've got a meet afterwards. We're going to meet at the Wellington Real Ale Pub. It's on Bennett's Hill in Birmingham. Straight after the show. So come down, have a pint, if or not. Just do what you want.
Do what you want. We will catch you next week. Thank you so much for living it. Remember to vote on who won that argument. I'm excited to see the results next week. We'll catch you later. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Just go easy, Mr. T-shirts. It's fine.